That music theme never gets old. What's going on, everybody? Welcome, Arvanauts, to a Saturday night stream. It is Saturday night, which is all right for fighting according to Elton John, and it's also all right for all of us to hang out today as we are moving on to day 29 of Expedition from the Mysterious Peaks. 2 weeks in a row for Mysterious Peaks. Very excited about that. Sponsored by Alligator Alley. This is Shadows in Twilight. Before we go any further, just a couple of quick reminders about ways to support us on the channel. If you haven't done so already, please follow the channel. If you haven't done so already, please check out our YouTube at !ArvTube. And if you're watching me over on the YouTube channel, welcome. Please sub to me there. Please spread the word about the shorts on the YouTube channel and the shorts on the Gen GM's channel that I share with our Gen GM show with Mr. Zach Clay. Please share those, spread the word about those. Thank you for all those who have done so far. Again, with !ArvTube. Discord is !ArvCord. You can hang out with the Arvanauts in between streams. Twitter is !ArvTweets. Blue Sky, !ArvSky. Website, arvanelleron.com. Financially, !ArvShop is the merchandise area. !ArvTrayon is the Patreon. Always a pleasure to be able to get support there. That really is the financial backbone of the channel, and you can get cool stuff, including inspirations to help our players. I should say that I have not had time to reset the inspirations yet. I am sorry. If we have them, we'll work it out. I will put a little marker on it. I'm going to finish up resetting those tonight, and tomorrow I'm doing the rest of my catch-up. My extended family visit is finally over. The family is left, and so tonight after the stream, and then definitely tomorrow, I'm going to be doing a lot of catch-up work I could not do while they were here, and that will include the inspiration stuff, plus filling out the schedule for the rest of the month of July. So, but anyway, inspirations you can get from both the Patreon support and subscribing to the channel, plus you can get those custom sub badges and emotes to use here, there, and everywhere across Twitch. So please do that, please, and thank you. Reminder today that anyone who puts a cheer in the channel, so an official cheer, any official cheers in the channel will go directly to the players. Let's please do that if we can. If you like what you see in here tonight, would love to see some cheers, those bits going the way of the players. That would be lovely. Let's see. Exclamation Point Icarus is my graphic novel from Athos Arts. Exclamation Point Library is my Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library. That's my 5e adventure and sourcebook from Alligator Alley Entertainment. And Exclamation Point Greyshade is my Greyshade IP. Greyshade and Renegade, first two books, critically acclaimed, are already out, and you can get those right now at that link. You can also get the audiobook of Greyshade from our very own Trent Sparks there. You can pre-order the tabletop role-playing game of Greyshade coming out at the end of the year from Brandon O'Brien and the amazing Alligator Alley Entertainment, which is the sponsor, of course, of Expedition from the Mysterious Peaks. And if you haven't already done so, you can also pre-order the final book of the Grey Assassin trilogy called Heretic from Athos Arts. That will be coming out July 30th is the official date. July 28th will be the official, or be the, I should say, pre-release special event with a reading and a signing and a Q&A and all that at Black Rock Books in Bridgeport, Connecticut. So at 5:30 p.m. on that Sunday the 28th, would love to see any or all of you there. If you were in the southern Connecticut area, southern New England, want to take a little bit of a drive over into my state, would love to see you there. So yeah, so we got that going on. As always, exclamation point BLM, Black Lives Matter, important to affirm and assert the significance and importance of Black lives, and exclamation point Help Now. That is the World Health Organization page on suicide prevention. Very important to reach out to others when you need help and to reach out to others when they need help as well. A couple of quick notes about scheduling. As I mentioned, we have got scheduling coming up. I've already done a few of the things up through this week, so everything was current as of this week, but we do have some other things that are coming up for the rest of the month of July, and I will have that posted and up and ready on the calendar, as I say, by the end of the weekend. That's going to be one of my to-dos tomorrow, so I will be doing that, fear not. So there is that, and let's see, what else? Also, I have posted over a couple of the things like, for example, the community D&D, which was on Wednesday and was really a lot of fun as always. So I posted that. We're going to have more of those, of course, for the rest of the week, for the rest of the month, I mean, and I will be posting those as they become available. So definitely please consider checking us out there. And that's another reason to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And I think the only other thing I need to mention to everyone is Buy the Dice Roll, which is my new actual play tabletop group with a lot of the GOG streamers. That is going to be, remember, our first live in-person event for that is happening on August 17th, and I believe it is the evening of August 17th, but afternoon really Saturday of August 17th at the Omnibus Theater in Clapham in the United Kingdom, which now is under new management, I'm very happy to say. So you can join us over there, as I know some of you are already doing. Please do consider joining us. Please do consider getting tickets for it. I think it's like £7.50 or something like that, so it's reasonably inexpensive. Traveling there may not be, of course, but if you happen to be in, near to London and or would like to take a visit there, we would love to see any or all of you there for this. All right. With all of that said, though, we are going to... I'm going to unmute myself, let the folks know we are ready to go, apologize that I have possibly interrupted one of them because I couldn't hear them, and then I'm going to unmute them, and last but certainly not least, I'm going to head over to reveal to you the full crew, and as you can see, I am no longer in a hotel either. I am back in home base, as it were, as I will be here for July. And I'm here with the crew. It is very awesome to see 2 weeks in a row, I can hardly believe it, to continue our amazing adventure. I will start with the gentleman at the top left, who is currently facing away, prepared for a dramatic Bond villain swivel back to the camera, type of thing. But that, of course, is one Mr. Johnny Pittman, Video Store Cowboy. Johnny, good to see you. How are you? How's life in the universe with you? I can't help but notice there's a somewhat different background here. Can you tell us more about that if you're at liberty to do so? And who are you playing today?
I am currently coming to you from a little neighborhood at the north end of Manhattan Island called Inwood.
Inwood, right near my old stomping grounds, actually.
West 218th.
Yep.
It's and Broadway. It's a nice little neighborhood. There's a couple of rivers, kind of around here, and nice bridge and everything. So it's kind of neat. It's much better than her neighborhood, or the apartment that she was living in Washington Heights. I like the neighborhood down there. I like the neighborhood up here. Apartment quality is
much better. Yeah,
she's got so much. Yeah. Anyways. Yeah, and coming to you from there, I am playing I'm not playing an Ashen Forged Melder. I was about to do that. I'm playing a Zek engineer. A Zek engineer by the name of Titus Littlefoot.
Awesome. And by the way, chat, you should know that I'm pretty confident I can say this. I think as of our next session, we will finally be able to reveal the full and detailed character art. It only took us, however many years we've been playing and however many, 29 sessions or whatever it is. But we will reveal all of the character art for these players. So believe it or not, there is character art. It does exist. It's existed for everybody else for a long time. They've been more than patient about it, but the character art is now just about complete, and so we will reveal that at the next session. And so you will see Titus Littlefoot in all of Titus's, fully rendered glory, I guess, would be the way to describe it.
Yeah.
All of us.
Right, exactly. And all of you will just be that. Like, none of you will actually be your own characters. You'll just be showing.
We're all Titus.
Yeah, you're all Titus now. No,
We're all Titus cosplaying as the other characters.
Exactly. No, I'm just kidding. But yes, so that is the case with that. Always a pleasure to have Johnny with us. Cannot wait to reveal that art to all of you in our next session. Moving right along, always a pleasure as well to have Toya Kristen Finley with us. Good to see you, Toya. We're a month away from actually getting to see each other in person, which will be a good time to hang out. But how are you? What is anything new and awesome happening in your world, and who are you playing tonight?
Again, don't know how to answer that question. I'm doing great. I haven't been outside, so I'm even better because it's gross. Scheming and conniving on some things, some which you know of and some which you don't know of. And I'll just reveal those things in time and let you chat, percolate on that stuff. Tonight I will be playing Knowles Darkly, also known as Nalik, who is a human bard.
Very exciting. Yes, and we will talk a little more about the Nulls may become extremely prominent in this session based upon a certain affinity to spirits and dream worlds and things like that, as we will discuss. Always a pleasure to have Toya with us. Also always a pleasure to have Kat Rambo with us as well. Kat, it is as always a pleasure to see you. How are you? How's life in the universe with you? And who are you? Also, most importantly, how are the now 3 cats? And also, who are you playing today?
Hostilities have stopped breaking out quite so frequently. There's still a little bit of hissing and growling, but they do clearly want to play with each other, and they're using the big cat wheel, which is just hysterical to watch.
It's literally a cat wheel. It's literally.
It is like a big hamster wheel.
Yeah. Oh, I remember you mentioned. Yes. Awesome.
So it's a bitch to put together. I'll tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
I am running Fob, a lizard folk rogue with a great many knives and teeth.
Yes, both of which may come into use in this session, as we will see. Always a pleasure to have Kat with us. And last but certainly not least, always so a pleasure to have Zach Clay with us, who is one half of the Gen GM's show. Thank you to all of you who have, we are at a new record of subscribers. We're trying to push to reach 100 subscribers. New big milestone for us would be that. But we have multiple videos up there and shorts and all that good stuff. So thank you for the support there. But otherwise, Zach, how is life in the universe over by you and over on the left coast? And who are you playing tonight?
Life in the universe is great. I got to run some D&D today, which was fun. And today I will be viciously using my scroll wheel. And then...
at moments of importance. Please break it down.
Yes.
You can only get through here if you can drop an immediate 6 bars. All right.
And I will be playing Dr. Keldon Jaraxis, a Dendus cybermancer, and a celebrity, but not on this planet. On this planet, I'm no one.
Yep. We don't have enough of the "Don't you know who I am?" It's true.
Yes.
Well, let us get into it, folks, because in our last session, this same crew of intrepid adventurers, which had entered this Twilight city of Celis hoping for help, ended up discovering instead that there were people that needed helping. Amazing how often that happens. And so the adventurers agreed that they would try to help the people of Celis figure out why some of them have been disappearing, in the hope that by doing so, they might get a lead on the reasons they came down here in the first place. One of which is to find out why the Primarch of Camria seems to have lost his mind and is now killing people with impunity with the aid of these random cultists. And then secondly, so that certain people that have crash landed on this planet can find some of the material that they need, which we know as sorium, to be able to refuel their ship and figure out what exactly led them to this planet in the first place. There was a beacon that was sounding, a distress beacon that apparently was coming from an enormously rich source, not just of sorium, but perhaps of technology. Finding it, however, has been difficult, but maybe that will be changing soon. As the party went into Celis, they discovered that the heart of this was a spirit caller known as Ustrika, who was quite powerful. And in fact, the party got a chance to see that for themselves when Ustrika, who had been apparently corrupting various people, taking the trials to become spirit callers themselves, tried to do the same thing, except this time the wine that she used to make that possible had been switched out by the party, and the party was observing them through the use of some cleverly positioned surveillance technology, one of which we have determined before the stream started today is actually still with Fob. And using that surveillance technology, they were able to see that Ustrika was up to her old tricks. When they were able to confront Ustrika with it, they then ended up finding out that Ustrika was not going to have any of their nonsense, and a fight ensued. The party did have some difficulty with this initially, especially when they were getting their strength drained by shadows which had been called forth from this alternate realm, but they did eventually manage to turn the tide, and they were able to defeat Ustrika, but it didn't involve killing her, which is what they might have expected. Instead, what they did was drive forth some control that apparently had been had over Ustrika, and what Ustrika informed them is that everything that they knew about the land of Celis was apparently a lie. Ustrika had been one of the spirit caller's most talented hopefuls, and when Ustrika herself had entered the journey known as the Umbral Realm, place beyond mortal comprehension, what she discovered was not that it is a place where the spirits of Twilight elves, which have passed on, and also their ancestors, progenitors, these magical members of their race exist. It's actually a place where these demonic shadow beings known as the Caridin are imprisoned. They have been reaching through the veil to be able to speak to the Twilight elves, and had gradually tried to pull some of them under their their influence, including Ustrika, who came under the psychic influence of a Caridon elder known as Fizelkis. It was only once she was free from Fizelkis's control that she could remember what was being done. This, then, is the legend of what had occurred. It was not about Twilight Elves. It was about monstrous demonic beings who were using a device, a Magitech device, to enhance and increase their psychic power. Now, there's two things that are important about this. One, the Magitech device is undoubtedly powered by some of the same material that would have created a beacon, by the same material that would have been setting off the walls of the place that Knowles has been able to sense the sort of kind of hyper extra sensitivity of the caverns near the Dewdream Wine Gardens, but also that it indicates that there may be a deposit of sorium there, or at least nearby, or at least that it is sorium powered. Good news for Titus and Jaraxxus. Also, if they can destroy it, good news for Knowles, Fob, and the rest of the crew, because it will allow these disappearances to stop. The problem, of course, is number one, there is still an incredibly powerful being which does not want this device destroyed. And number two, this is essentially invalidating much of the Twilight Elves' religion for the last God knows how many years. So this did not go over well with everybody. And Ustrika, who said that she would lead the party to the entrance to this place, is technically still under arrest and must face justice for her crimes, though Vicine, the guard captain, has agreed to allow her to guide them to the secret entrance to this place where the Magitech device is located, after which he is going to take her away to face justice in front of the Primarch of Celis. So that is where the party is at as we are prepared to get things started, but there is a long rest, which I believe the party wants to take first, and the party can let me know if they want to do that and what else they would like to do. I will remind the party that while they do not have you got to get this done in the next half hour or the universe will blow up, there is a little bit of time sensitivity in the sense that obviously when it is discovered that Ustrika is no longer under the control of Fizelkis, they're going to put two and two together, you would have to assume, pretty quickly. So a long rest is possible, but I would, if I may, suggest that probably the party doesn't want to wait too long beyond that to do whatever it is that they need to do. That said, I'm going to hand things over to the party as I turn the music on. What would the party like to do?
What does too long mean? Because a long rest is going to be 24 hours, correct?
No, long rest is actually 7 to 8 hours usually.
Okay, so we can do things within that 7 to 8 hours,
sure,
right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well,
because...
yes, but remember that to have it count as a long rest, you typically need at least 6 hours of that to be more or less either sleep or trance or something like that. So you can't I'm going to go, going to do a quick road trip for an hour and a half and then come back. You need to be resting to actually get the benefits.
We want to take the long rest. I know we want to take the long rest. I've also mentioned before Johnny got here something that I want to try to do before we face this device, and that is see if we can get I'm blanking out, examined. Yeah. The handle of Ustrika's scimitar examined, because Knowles wants to know if this is clearly from the Umbral realm, or whatever it truly is. The Twilight Elves believe that it's the Umbral realm. What qualities and characteristics this hilt has, because it comes from the Umbral realm, can we use any of those qualities and characteristics to our own advantage in weapons that we might have made later? Of course, they cannot be made now, but for later.
Okay. That's
one thing that Knowles will want to do.
Okay, those are all good things to keep in mind. So I'd say about, just to sort of speak to those quickly, certainly you can get this examined, but again, the question is, and you just sort of laid out a little bit of examined for what. One thing that I can say for sure is that none of the people here are going to know more than Ustrika will about the Umbral Realmish qualities of that. You have Shannon, right? But Shannon is already spending his time trying to bring Mavra sort of navigate her back through the mental maze into when she was sent, when she, made it possible for you all to get through that barrier. And so Shannon is kind of occupied, and the only person who would know as much as he, probably more, would be Estrika. She won't necessarily be able to know, presumably, how to turn it into weapons, because she doesn't necessarily have that kind of knowledge. She could tell you where she received it so clearly, and you could probably get others to examine it given time. However, Knowles, I would say that you and your compatriots may have just as good a chance of examining it, in quotes, as anybody else would. So
I don't care who examines it.
Yeah,
I'm aware of some dogs on the team who could probably examine it as well. The other question is, can word get to Levia of what has happened?
Yes, and probably fairly quickly, you would think, given the
Because that needs to
circumstances.
happen.
Yep, that's fine.
Those are my questions. I will shut up now.
Okay, that all works. What about the rest of you?
Leveling up.
Wait a minute.
Come on, that was a big fight.
It was a big fight. You're not there yet. Soon, I promise.
You got
Soon, I promise.
You
have a device to destroy.
Titus.
We have.
Titus is gonna just sit this one out and protest.
I believe Titus was doing a mass healing, if I'm not mistaken. Although, did you do that already? Was that?
No, we did not do that.
Okay. So we should probably we'll come to you to take care of that in a minute, but I want to ask Fob and Jaraxxus first about what they'd like to do.
I think Jaraxxus, after all of that, will actually go up to Fob and say, well, that was something. I need to check the device that I gave you. And I go up to the recording unit tiara that we made and check that it's still good to go. And I guess the only thing Jaraxxus wants to check on is am I to assume that I have 100 terabytes of storage or something in my Esper Genesis level?
That I think is, clearly,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, great. So awesome. So I store the recording if it's not already.
The Google Cloud is not working as well as you might have hoped. They did tell you that it would always be available, but for some reason it just doesn't.
Yeah, my cloud account, my connection to the SIM is this Silrain Intergalactic Matrix has been wonky ever since we landed. But
yes, your Sorium book is not quite.
Yes, my LAN
Yeah.
is fine.
Yes, of course.
So
Okay. Bob would like to see the footage, if that's the right word,
right.
of Bob biting people, because it's going from the tiara. I'm curious what that would look like.
I rewind. Jaraxxus rewinds it back.
Bob will watch in fascination.
And I say, wow, I didn't realize your snout is so impressive. It shows up in the shot. This is kind of entertaining. Wow, look at that guy. Wow, you just bit. Wow, I didn't know you could bite a shadow. I turn to Fob and I say, you could be pretty famous out in the Silrain Arc with this.
I could be biting things. The champion biting things.
You could have that. Could be your thing. In the Silrain Arc, in the Sim, there are many people, such as myself, who have created channels, matrices that people like the.
What is a channel?
Okay, so it is a series of videos that all have the same person or the same theme. It's like
So that's a channel that you just showed me.
Right. It's like
That
a
was
book.
a channel.
A book of videos
A book
of these. Like you keep biting. How about this? I put the tiara back on you. You keep biting things,
Okay.
and then once we have enough footage of you biting things, I'll edit it all together, and it will be very entertaining. Great.
Also, Prince Justin's right. Local backups. That's a very that's a very important key. Okay, so looking at and I guess looking at video and sort of marveling at it is not really disrupting rest. For the most part. So I will.
Well, We haven't started our long rest. Are
This
we
is all
doing it
pre
now?
to the local rest. Well, I assumed you were doing it sooner rather than later, but you can tell me.
Oh yeah. Oh, I guess I don't know if we can't sleep at the garden, the wine garden, right?
She is Glimmerleaf is willing to put you up in a couple of private rooms. They do have them available there. And obviously Glimmerleaf is more than happy, given the circumstances of the last 12 hours or so,
Right.
to allow you to do that.
Is it
So-
such that that Ostrika pretty eminently needed to show us what she needs to show us, and then we long rest though?
Probably, yeah. Right. The guard would not just sit there. So, and I would sort of montage that she would show you the spot you need to go to, and then
Okay.
you can go back to where you need to go in Dewdream's garden. So yes,
So question, I know that Jaraxxus and Titus have equipment. Can their equipment be scanning the hilt while we're sleeping?
not while sleeping.
Okay.
You can have them do sort of like a quick once over without really disrupting the sleep. More extensive analysis will take longer, but you can certainly have them do, depending on what they want to pitch that they're using to investigate it. You can certainly have them do a quicker version of that, basically.
Yeah, so it sounds like Titus is going to finish healing us here at the garden, and then we're going to go see what Ostrika has to show us. And then I think I guess it depends on where the entrance that Ostrika is going to show us is, because maybe it is, if it's closer to the garden, then maybe we should stay at the garden. And if it's closer to the Whisperwind estate, maybe we'd go back there. But yeah.
So it's actually, given those choices, it's definitely closer to the garden, because where it actually is, let me bring us all over to the map here, where it actually is near, and I guess this shouldn't surprise anybody, near the Sanctum of Spirits is apparently where they typically went down. And so that's, as you can see, much closer to Dewdreams than it is to over...
Well, 5 looks kind of right in the middle of 6 and 1 to me.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, I lost
Not
6 now.
mathematically, chat, on the map, by the way. 5 is not in the middle of 6 and 1.
Yeah, that's true. It is about the middle. The issue, I guess, is that 1 is back up that hill, so you'd need to go down and back up and then there. But yes, you're right in terms of like as the drone flies, so to speak.
And these are like caves, so it would be coming up from underground and back up the hill.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's true.
All right.
So up to you, but that is where she would show us. So why don't we do the healing thing, and then I'll mention what Ostrika does when she shows you this, and then we can you can do your long rest / examination. So yeah, Titus, what are we looking at in terms of healing totals for this? Once you've done your level 10, or I mean your 10-minute thing rather.
Yeah, exactly. Level 10 sounds great. So there's the 4 of us, plus Gamorreek, and then who is the last person, I guess?
The other one that is down is currently Mavra, but Mavra that's not a physical injury. That is a mental thing that Shannon is going to have to bring her out of it, basically guide her back through it. And that's not anything that you can really help with. She's in no physical danger at the moment anyway.
All right, so I'm gonna roll 2d8 plus forging then.
Okay.
And that'll be the result.
What is it? What was it?
Hold on one second. So it's gonna be 13 points for everyone.
Thank you.
Lovely. So give me a total for Titus. Where does that put everybody at? So Titus, we'll start with you. Are you?
I'm fully healed.
Yeah, because you didn't take hits, right?
Oh no, I
Fob,
took 5, but like I'm fully
you're back
healed.
up. Okay.
Yeah.
Fob, what about you?
I am fully healed.
Okay, so you are at 20 out of 20. Your temper gone, but that's okay until Jaraxxus rebuilds it or whatever. Okay, Nulls, what about you?
22.
22 out of 31. Lovely. And Jaraxxus, what about you?
I think I should be at 19 out of 21,
Okay.
and then Draxus is going to cast his Innervate right now. I'll manually do it this time. I'll type that in a second. I have to see how many dice it is to give me some temp.
Okay.
One d4 plus 4. Here we go. All right, cool. So I have 8 temp for 1 hour. 1 hour, but I kind of just like spend 6 seconds every hour to recast it.
Okay.
But so the default then is 6, but right now it's 8.
Okay. That's just for you, right? Like, because you
That's
haven't
just for me.
Because you haven't had the other
Yeah.
one, right? Okay.
The temp that Fob got was from Fob biting people.
Right. That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Lovely. So, so with that in mind, then we have the healing to do. And I will mention... I will mention that... Fob, once you've done your thing of looking at, Fob's home videos, once we're done looking at that, then at that point, Fob is going to rest along with the others.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Can I click long rest? Is it okay now? I've been holding off.
Oh, yes. You should be able to do that now. Let's see if it actually works the way it should.
So everybody needs to be clicking on long rest now.
Yeah.
Yes.
For those of you in D&D Beyond.
Yep.
Okay.
Where I'm in D&D Beyond.
Right.
So
we're staying at the wine garden then?
Oh, that's right. Assuming you're
Sounds
staying
like...
there, but...
Yep, works for me.
Yep.
Okay. And then I guess you were about to say something, Greg, but...
Yeah, so the way the long rest... So what that means then is that you will, during the long rest, you will restore all remaining hit points, and then you will also get spent hit dice. Now, some of you may have used hit dice already, so you will restore a number of dice equal to a half of your total number of them. So since you were all level 4, you should have 4 hit dice. And that means that you should be able to get up to 2 of those back if you had spent that many. And I think some of you used 1 or 2 of them, I believe, during short rest, but maybe I'm wrong. But in any case, you would get that number back of hit dice being used.
Now, Fob and I also lost strength.
Right. The strength, you'll be happy to know, is restored during the course of this long rest.
Okay, and how do I fix that on my...
You click you should see the big abilities, the 6 big abilities in the top left under your name.
Yeah.
And you click strength, and then it should have a manual like an overrided modifier that was added, and you're going to change that now or remove it.
Oh, got it. So just take off the -2.
Yep.
Okay.
Also a note, remember that this means you cannot benefit from another long rest within the next 24 hours. So functionally, until you've dealt with whatever you're going to deal with next, that's it for long rests. Short rests are different, but long rests, that's what you're at. So just a friendly reminder.
Most of us were half dead, so...
No. This is a very good idea. I'm not, believe me, you did the right thing.
-7 strength was dead.
Yeah, shadows those are nasty. And as one other thing to chat, by the way, a reminder that those shadows were not just sort of formless things. They were presumably shadows of actual Twilight elves. This is something which I can't remember which of the characters, Nulls, I think, noticed was the case. So these were actually the disembodied shadows of actual beings that are no longer...
Oh, that was Fob.
No longer with us.
It
might have been... Oh, it was Fob?
Personal.
I'm sorry, that's right. It was Fob who noticed that. So, yes. So, more things for this Fizelkus to answer for. Okay. So, let's talk about that examination. Titus and Draxus, since you're the two that makes the most sense, I think, in terms of trying to examine it, although I'll happily take other suggestions from people. What's your pitch in terms of how you want to try to examine this thing, again, relatively quickly, keeping in mind that most of that long rest was occupied with you all resting? Is there something that you could do in, let's say, an hour's time to be able to examine it using one of your abilities? I'm happy to accept pitches for that.
So to start with Draxus, the most concrete thing that I have which is not going to be the best, is Analyze Device. It's a prime talent that says you discover all commands, workings, electronic and mechanical functions of a automaton, construct, device, machine, or vehicle. So device is a word that's doing a lot of work in that sentence for us, hopefully.
Yep.
You gain basic knowledge on how to activate and operate the device. You still need to make the appropriate checks to use advanced functions, da da da. So on paper, I will hold this blade of the sword, analyze device, and then a voice will say, "This is a sword. You use it to cut things."
Slash or poke to create.
Yes.
Okay.
So aside from that, the other wacky idea I have is that I bought 8 of those memory crystals from that guy, that merchant.
Yes, from Varellan.
Right. And it, depending on how long Ostrika is with us, I don't know if you already narrated her. She showed us the entrance and now has gone away. But if that's not the case, if she's still with us, like at the start of our rest or something.
Right.
Well, I guess that's the other thing too, is I think it was mentioned that, you know, just directly asking her what the sword does would probably be better.
But I do like where you're going with the crystals too.
Yeah, because my thought was like,
show us perhaps people she's encountered.
Right. Yeah. So because I was like, memory crystals could unlock information, but if it's memories, our only memories of that blade is maybe getting hit by it, you know. So really that it needs to be someone like Ostrika. And then my point was like, well, wait, if she's around, let's just ask her about what the sword does. She's the wielder of it. So I don't know. Greg can tell us if that's
I'll
the
accept
case.
that if you want to do that as like the beginning of the rest, because the way it works is basically the beginning of the rest. She will, right before the rest, she will show you where you need to go, and then we'll come back, and then you'll have a chance to ask her a couple of other questions before Vicine is like, okay, like let's go, because as you know, Vicine is already pushing it to allow her to stay as long as he has. So
Before we do that, one other question I have is a simple examination of it, holding it, you know, in hands or paws or whatever, however you want to think about it.
Right.
What is interesting about it? Like, is there any type of glow to it? Is there a light, like an LED light on it? You know, like what? Is there anything that indicates that it is actually technology or related, or is it just like? Is it just
cold,
what it is?
And
So,
the blade vanished like into shadow. It was a scimitar. The blade vanished like it was in the shadow, and the hilt is extremely cold.
That
Right.
is, though both of those are correct. I would ask you to make for me, I think, an investigation check on this, Titus, for that first.
How about a 16?
So the hilt itself is long and slightly curved, and is made of this dark, sort of strange, dark metal, which is indeed exceptionally cold. It doesn't seem to have a mechanism on it, but the place from which the blade would have emerged, right? The slot into which the blade would have been set within the hilt, seems odd to you in that there don't seem to be any obvious notches inside of it. Let's see if I can describe this properly. Inside the slot of the hilt, there are not any notches which would seem to be able to hold the blade in place. In other words, if you had to guess, this feels, Titus, like much more like the design of what an energy blade would look like, albeit you've never actually seen an energy blade with a hilt like this or that feels like this, right? But it seems much more like that would be the design rather than something which has the sort of standard kind of metallic or vibrosteel or whatever blade notches to hold that metal within the hilt. The hilt inside just looks like almost like a kind of a flat tube, might be the best way to describe it.
Is this a type of metal that Jaraxxus or I would have come across at any given point?
You have not encountered this metal before. In fact, you don't 100% know. I mean, analyze device is going to have to be the next part of this, but you have never seen or held a metal like this before, Titus, in your long life.
All right. Titus would convey that information to the rest of the group and then pass the blade or pass the hilt back to Jaraxxus so that he can continue with Astrika.
So, Jaraxxus, you can ask that question if you wish of Astrika first, and then you could do, if you want to do the analyze device thing as the last, final whatever, that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. If Astrika's here, Jaraxxus will turn to her while holding the hilt of the blade and say, can you tell us about this weapon that you were carrying?
It is not a weapon that I had when I was a spirit caller, when I was a hopeful. We do not carry weapons in the same way. There is no need of them. But when I came to the astral realm, to the umbral realm, and when I met Fizelkis, he gave it to me. I know little about it except that he said it would be needed to strike at their enemies. And she kind of turns away and she says, I am nauseated by the sight of it.
Oh, do you know how to use it? How it, where did the blade go?
She shakes her head and she says, I do not know how to use it. The knowledge, I think, was given to me when my control of my body was taken from me.
Oh.
And as to where the blade went, I assume it was somehow generated by the energy from that foul place. When the shadow left me, I assume it left this blade.
I look at Alik, and then I cast Analyze Device if I can. Not sure how much it'll help, but
it does a little bit. When you cast Analyze Device, there is this is a sword. You do get that reference. Okay. But you also notice a couple of other things. The first is that this is an energy blade. This is an energy sword, which shoots forth an energy blade. But it has been crafted in a certain way so as to be melded with an illusion. That is to say, it presents the illusion of being a regular blade until the energy source is removed. You may remember that I gave you all that touchstone of the Fellowship of the Ring thing with the Nazgul dagger that goes, kind of disappears. That sort of thing is more or less illusion. Really what happened is that the energy blade just winked out of existence the minute that the shadow vanished from or was driven forth from Ustrika. The other thing, Jaraxxus, is at the very base of this thing, you also notice that there is, you discover that there is a power source to it. A thing at the bottom, you have to hold left and right side of the hilt. And then if you press in a certain way, the bottom is supposed to open. However, the hilt needs to be powered to do that. So in other words, when the power seems to have been drained from it, and the way to refill it requires you to open it, which apparently you can't do unless it's powered. That's sort of the analyzed device thing that you get, which seems weird. But it is possible that the realm itself or things near the realm, other forms of energy that power the umbral realm, perhaps when in proximity of those things, it would allow you to access that charging area again. Or, wireless charging. I mean, that's always possible. If you just put it on a wireless pad. I'm just kidding.
Nulls has a question for Astrika based on all of that.
Okay.
So you don't think it was the sword that was possessing you? It was an entity that was using the blade through you?
That is it. I was the one possessed by Fizelkis. And it was my corruption, that powered that thing.
Do you think that hilt is a calling card For example, if we had it near the entrance, it would let him know we were there.
That is a question that I have considered myself. It is the reason that I cannot... And then she looks over to see Vicine, whose arms are folded and is doing the tapping foot on floor of let's go thing. And she says, besides my previous engagements, it is why I myself cannot go more than the entrance I have shown you any further. Because if I were to do so, Vizelkis would no doubt sense my presence. I suspect that anything associated with me would come to him. Whether that means that this thing which he gave to me would call out, speak to him the way that I would, I cannot say, but it has concerned me.
Well, I think we'll be able to put it to good use at some other point. But for the time being, I think we need to keep this safely hidden somewhere. I don't know how the rest of you feel about it.
I think that's a good idea. It is, speaking of shadows, if they weren't so evil, I would say it would be a good weapon for our friend here. I look at Fob, but it seems to have some bad
It
energy.
seems evil things.
I should note, by the way, that in that analyze device thing, just to note for everyone's edification, you don't know whether the blade itself is evil, but it seems as if it can be powered through various sources of energy, and they do seem to be otherworldly energy. You know, maybe if you have a big advanced adventure in the Umbral Realm or something, like, you know, it'll work great. But it's sort of like in regular D&D, a drow sword. If you take that into the light, it burns into dust because it only functions in the Underdark. You wonder if there isn't a little bit of that here. So if any of you are willing to be, you know, possessed by a shadow, probably get a good weapon. But yeah.
Well, based on what we learn about the Umbral Realm and the powers therein, I might be able to wield it at some point. There's also the case that we might figure out how to make weapons like this for ourselves, and maybe they'd be good against the Keratin.
Maybe. When I look at the hilts, does it seem like I could power it with like what I power with Esper? Probably not. But
not
like
with Esper power, but it feels familiar. I mean, there is an echo of that, you know, you can almost sense within this blade. So you don't think you can do it directly where you just like pour Esper into it and it starts working. But there are similar aspects to it. The thing which makes it possible for you to use Esper power is somehow connected to this.
Could the energy itself be purified?
Maybe. If there's some sort of opposite of the umbral, if there's a light realm or something?
Ustrika sort of smiles bitterly and says, I thought that you were standing in that opposite realm.
What do you mean?
That world is the Twilight world.
Oh.
Our world was supposed to be the world of Celis. It appears that our world is just as subject to corruption as that one. And Vicine says, which means your failure must be brought to account, even if your story is true. I have already pushed beyond the limit. She must come with me now to the Primarch.
I have nothing more. Thank you for telling us the way, I suppose.
Ustrika, yeah, go ahead.
You've given us enough. Now, you must be counseled by your own grief and guilt.
Ustrika sort of bows her head and she says, I have already done so. No one can find myself as wanting as I have already found myself to be. And she, kind of with her shoulders slumped, sort of turns away. Vicine takes her arm none too gently. I mean, he's not abusing her, but he's clearly, all of this sucks. It's basically it. And brings her down the path, and just leading out of Dew Dreams. And just before he gets to the path, and he's followed by his the other guard, his aide, he turns back to you and he says, "I will have to inform the Primarch of what you have chosen to do, but I will delay as long as I must in doing so. That said, I wish you good fortune. But if what you discover is the destruction of what we believe," and he kind of shakes his head and he says, "To whatever ends may lead you, I wish you the best."
What is the Celis equivalent of a salute?
There is no specific salute. It's kind of a sort of a respectful nod is what they really do.
Malik does the respectful nod.
And Vasine reciprocates, and they both depart with Ustrika. Okay, now, assuming everyone has done those sorts of things, I want to bring everybody, tell you a little bit about what it was that she saw, because what she brought you to was a fairly extensive, sort of long passageway that was near the Sanctum of Spirits. And that passageway slopes down into a maze of smaller passages that are connected to what she describes as the vein. Now, the vein is, according to her, this source of energy. It is a source of energy that others make references to. This is VEIN, by the way. That others make reference to, but of course she knows the actual, what it leads to, which is not this lovely, wonderful place, but something different than that. The maze of passages would be impossible were it not for the information that she had given you, and also one small little item. It is essentially a glowing ball, probably the size of, I don't know, a lens cap, maybe, let us say, or a super ball. And when you hold it, it basically glows, and as you go down various passages, it glows brighter or less bright, depending on how close you get to the source that it originally came from. And so she gives those things to you, and she told you before you all went back to Dew Dreams and what we just described as this little interaction happened, that it is quite a way to get down there. So, be aware of that, basically. Okay. But it's a wide passage as well. There are smaller passages, but the smaller passages are wide enough that all of you could technically walk, 4 abreast if you wanted to. So it's not small enough. It's not too small for you to maneuver.
As we're going, Jaraxxus has one quick thing he wanted to fiddle with as we're going on the way. I was looking through my inventory, and back in session 15-ish, when we were still with when Elu was guiding us through the canyon area on our way down south, we traveled, and Jaraxxus and the rest of the group found this mini hologram projector that projects a blue image of a woman holding a child. And
right.
The note I wrote is that Elu wasn't happy to see it. She doesn't know the woman, but seems to know the significance of a hologram like this, and maybe it's like a reference to the cataclysm that happened in the past or whatever. I never really messed with it, and we never figured out who that woman and the child were. But I was looking through items in the Esper Genesis manual, and one of the ordinary quote-unquote items in the Esper Genesis manual is a holo projector that says linking this item to a sim unit or recording unit allows you to create a 3-dimensional recording within a 10-foot square that includes video and audio. The recordings can be up to 3 minutes and saved onto recording chips that can be played on any holo projector. So I and Jaraxxus am wondering if I can if there's a way that I can save this image of this woman and baby and then now have a holo projector item that I can use almost like a minor illusion.
Yes, except that in this case, the thing is hardwired into the holoprojector. You think that it was not meant to be used for more than one thing. However, the holoprojector technology, it's very funny you mentioned that, because this is going to come into play very quickly. But that particular one, you can't pull a chip from or anything. But I'm glad you brought it up, because it's something which is going to come into play in a moment. So that said, though, as you are making your way down, so
hold on a second. I got a question
go ahead.
too.
Yeah, go ahead, Titus.
Sorry.
No, quite all right.
So we were just talking about the energy sword that she was carrying, and you know, the examination of it between both what investigation that Titus did and then the analyzed device that Jaraxxus did.
Right.
Titus would want to go back and either remember or take a look at the video that Jaraxxus recorded and get an understanding of how the blade presented itself, or how the hilt presented itself while she was possessed. And could we actually see the blade itself, or could we only see the hilt until she pulled it?
No, you could see the blade. Not only could you see the blade, but it looked like a regular metallic blade.
And she carried it like sheathed on her hilt, or on her belt or whatever?
Correct. Yep. And that's the thing, right? That it had this illusion that you're told that apparently disguised the energy signature and the normal appearance of said sword. In other words, it was designed to pass as a regular sword, if you had to guess, in this realm.
Now, Nulls wouldn't know this, so I'm trying to figure out a way to give Jaraxxus and Titus an idea. Because I think there's something to this. Let me see. You know, in that, what do you call it? Video. That's what you said. It's a video. There's like a picture, and then another picture, and then another picture. And they all kind of run together. Can you look at like each picture and see if there's something weird with the sword? Because when you run everything together, it looks smooth, right?
Right.
But if you just got one picture, sometimes it looks a little strange until it comes together with the rest.
So, and then I know this is as like we're now in these tunnels walking to where we're going, but yeah, Jaraxxus will through the visor of the recording unit is all he has to play back stuff, which is why he wants a projector now. But he is going to attempt to go frame by frame. I don't know what FPS I can record stuff in, Arv, but yeah, when I slow down to a single frame, does the illusion of it being a real blade diminish or falter, or is it?
It does
it's
not.
Flawless. Wow,
it's flawless.
That's cool.
It's a good thought, but it does seem to be, and perhaps this is the illusionary part of it. Hello to my random cat that just showed up. That really freaked me out. All of a sudden, I saw this like dark shape, and I'm like, "What?" And then my cat's like,
"The blade."
I was like,
"The shadows have come."
It was actually a cat. No, So yeah. So no. It looks to be something which is perhaps integral to the energy. That is to say that the illusion was woven into it somehow, if you had to guess. That's speculative, but it's definitely not something that was projected over the top of it. You think it was woven into it somehow to create that effect. You also don't know whether it's location specific too, whether it would have had a different appearance elsewhere. Because as I said, this metal does not strike you as... Oh, I forgot to mention that, by the way. When you were doing the analyzed device thing, this metal has no referent point in the Silrain arc.
Okay.
It does not come from this galaxy.
I think Jaraxxus muses, and makes sure to give the hilt back to Nalik, but muses about how exciting this is, given that he's a scientist, and it's the first time that he feels like he's... he says, this is... I've learned many things about the interesting cultures of this world, but to be honest, there are interesting cultures on every world. This metal has never been discovered where I'm from. Make sure we don't lose that.
That is a curiosity. I'm just wondering where we can keep it safe and sound so Philaxis doesn't know we're coming.
Well, that was an interesting thing. Ostrika said that she was possessed by Zelkus or whatever his name was. Which, if that's true, if she wasn't just possessed by a shadow, but directly by him, then we might have reason to believe he already knows we're coming. Because we were already fighting him.
Sure, but if anyone is holding this hilt, can he possess any one of us?
Well, she said that she was possessed, which allowed her to wield the blade, not the other way around. If we're to believe her. And we keep walking, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, I should ask though, do you bring the hilt with you?
I would feel comfortable not bringing the hilt. But I do want to make sure it's left somewhere that we can retrieve it.
If you trust Glimmerleaf, she would offer to be able to keep it in a place of safety. Not the wine cellar, but sort of her own private safe.
Could it be sent back to Levia's estate?
If you want, but then it's got to go with one of the guards or something.
Oh, the guards?
Like that.
No, yeah. not one of the guards.
Yeah, then let's leave it with Glimmerleaf, maybe.
We all trust Glimmerleaf, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Haha, Glummerleaf. No, just kidding.
Yes.
She
Okay.
also does send a message to Levy because you had mentioned that, Nels, wanting to do that too, that this is what is happening. But you were well along your way before the message would have reached to Levia. So the journey down, she was not lying when she said it took a while. It actually takes several hours, about 2 hours of walking down this increasingly lower and sort of winding passageway before you find the sort of end of this kind of winding passageway using the stone, which, by the way, who's holding that? I should ask. Who's holding the stone? That glowing stone that I mentioned that she gave you?
It's basically like our compass that helps us lead the way. I don't know. Are we having... I guess that's the other question. Are we all just walking 4x4 next to each other? Or Fob, do you have any inclination to like scout ahead or something?
Scouting ahead seems like a good idea. I would prefer not to carry the stone because I like to have my hands free for daggers.
Okay. Right.
Okay. Also, Gomorrah is behind you, I assume, but...
Right.
Can I stealth ahead of the party some...
Yes, but it would have to be... Yeah, I was
going
going to say yes, but probably no further than that because you need to know where the stone is telling you to go, basically. But yes, you could do that. Okay. And I would say about as you get towards, perhaps as you're beginning to wonder if this is ever going to stop, you can see that the walls, kind of the natural cavern walls, smooth out. And all of a sudden you're walking into what is clearly shaped stone. And Fob, I would like you to make a perception check for me, please, since you were scouting ahead of the rest.
Okay. Ooh. I rolled a 1.
Okay.
It makes it 7, but
right.
Still was a 1.
Everything seems fine as you continue
Everything's
forward.
Fine. I'll turn around and wave at everybody.
Yeah.
Good.
No, it's actually not in this case a danger. It means though that you are 40 feet further along when I need Titus and Nulls and Jaraxxus to make the same perception check that you just made.
All right.
It's fine. It's fine. How are you?
Wonderful 5.
Okay. Oh, Nulls is on point with a 20.
Not a nat 20, but whatever.
Still good. Oh, wow. Everyone is very interested in everything else except Nulls. So, Nulls, as you're walking along, you can see to the left of the wall, too, because you've been looking at the walls a little bit because of the whole glowing effect that I mentioned, though you have not seen a repeat of that glowing effect. However, as we're passing along, just as everyone else is about to pass by it, in fact, you see a series of well-camouflaged indentations in the wall. And who I'm going to assume for a moment, who is it that was carrying it since it wasn't Fog? Did you? I'm sorry if you said this already. Was it Draxus?
I was going to ask. Was Titus? Titus was a pilot when we were in space,
Titus
right?
is a pilot. Yeah.
And Jaraxxus would suggest that the navigator, the pilot, then carries the stone.
So Nulls, when Titus walks past that, you can see the stone flicker a little bit as if it's glowing a little more and then glows a little less. And when you look over at the spot where that happened, where it did that little flicker, you can see these indentations in the wall.
Is this similar to the flickering that I experienced near the gardens?
Similar, but this is more regular, as if it were near an electrical current that was more strong for a moment.
I'm going to stop Titus and have him say, there's some indentations in the wall here and I can see some flickering. Can you bring the stone a little bit closer?
Titus will look at her a little strangely, but comply.
When you bring the stone closer to it, first of all, the stone does indeed brighten, but you're looking at a series of indentations, and you don't really know what they mean. They're just like sort of scratches in the wall, although they could be some sort of pattern. I would like Jaraxxus, please. Well, assuming Draxus comes back to where everyone else is standing, I assume.
Yeah.
Draxus, I would like you to make a perception check for me also, but I'd like you to... investigation check, but do this at advantage, please.
Gladly. 22.
Okay. Those patterns, I would like you to imagine looking at a series of stars in the sky and tracing out a constellation from those spots. As you look at this, you see a pattern on the wall that looks familiar, Jaraxxus. But you're not sure exactly what it is, unless the lines could be connected somehow.
I start looking in my bags and I say, does anyone have any chalk or something to write with? Let me see, I have to have something.
Do you point at the constellations, or do you point out that you're actually seeing that?
I kind of go to the wall and I say, these look like stars. Almost.
I shouldn't say stars. I should say an image of some kind or something. But the point is points in something.
It looks like an image of some kind or something, but the point is they're points. If I can't do it analog, then can I do it digitally? Can I use like my visor to create a projection, maybe that only I see, that connects these points or something?
Sure. Trying to think if there's a check that you need to make. Probably not. What kind of a scan would your visor do?
It wouldn't really do a scan. I'm just trying to, like, if one were to hold a phone to look at something and then you're drawing on your phone.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So it's not actually performing anything. It's just literally connecting the dots.
When you do that on your visor, you see a woman and a child. It's a very familiar image, Draxus.
I pull out that projector,
which is why I was previously smiling. I'm like, that's pretty awesome.
That's really weird. Yeah. I pull out that projector, that little disc, and I flick it on, and I back up to see if I can like line them up.
Yep.
Almost.
When you do, and everyone can now see this woman and child image sort of projected against the wall. There is a sort of very slight rumble, and then sliding inward is a portion of the wall, and beyond it, a small, dark passageway.
This is strange. This is very strange. I flick the disc closed. I look around for like, are there any other of these points, any of these other projection or star things?
You don't see anyone's near where you are, no.
You said that was a constellation on the wall?
I mean, the sorts of the lights formed the outline of this. I've had this since we were walking in the Badlands.
So how does what seemingly appears to be a mother and a child, how are they connected to the stars?
And is it any clear, DM, are the woman and child in the image elvish, or they look human, or is it indiscernible?
I would say probably indiscernible. You probably don't have enough detail to be able to see the features of the woman and so on.
Okay. Well, nowhere to go but forward, I guess.
Well, and whose key is that? Now, I would say, well, it is a key. It opened up a passageway. You don't put an image like that in a device like that if those two people didn't mean something to you.
And you don't put them on a wall either. This seems less like a locket with your mother or your wife and child, and more like a religious figure almost. And DM, was it clear that the projector that I was holding, was that what clicked open the door, or was it the ball that's been guiding us?
No, it was the ball sort of indicated the
sphere thing.
The sphere indicated sort of the impressions on the wall. It was and it was when you used the projector basically to, but again, it was also just putting light on the wall in that pattern.
I see. Okay. Got it. Well, I shrug. All right. Well, I'm curious to see what's next.
Is everyone going through?
Fob, you feel like doing a little advanced scouting.
Fob was like 40 feet down the passage. What?
Yeah.
Okay. Fob, I'd like you to make a stealth check for me, please, and a perception check. You can do that in whichever order you wish. Just tell me which one you're doing.
All right, I will do the stealth check first.
Okay.
And get a 22.
Okay. Silent as always.
Perception check next and get a 12.
Okay. Fortunately, this is not as difficult a perception check as the other one would have been, but the stealth was very helpful because it is a smooth stone-carved tunnel, and as you go down it, the passage goes down probably 30, 40 feet or so, turns right. Oh, and I should have asked this before. The sphere obviously casts its own light, but if you're not going to use that, Fob, I don't know that you have dark vision, or do you? Or do you have dark vision?
I do not know, and so I'm looking at my character sheet.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think the lizard folk do.
It would be under senses. I don't think you do.
Yeah, I don't have any additional sense.
Okay. So that actually, if you are stealthing along anyway, if you are just keeping your hand/claw to the wall and you're just sort of feeling along it as you go, that's probably fine because the sphere of light would be able to you'd be able to light the way for your compatriots. Just be aware that you yourself would not be able to see much unless you saw light in front of you at some point. So I'm just letting you know that. But otherwise, there's no real danger in it because you can just feel the passageway as you go along. But is that fine, or do you want some light source with you?
Sure, that's fine. I say, waiting to have my fingers bitten off. Yeah.
Look, claw marks. Ah, no. Okay. So you making your way in this fashion, when the passageway turns, as I mentioned, it opens onto what looks like the sort of southern side, or at least the bottom of this 30-foot circular chamber. And across the chamber from where you are, Fob, you can see, because there is light in this chamber, you can see a 10-foot tall archway which exits north across that 30-foot chamber. But against the western wall, the leftmost wall of this same circular chamber, there is a table, and sitting around it are 4 figures that seem to be playing some sort of game. They are sort of laughing with each other, and sort of, every so often one of them is like, and speaking in a language that's not necessarily familiar. What languages does everyone speak, I should ask quickly?
Null speaks Elvish, and let me look because I think there are several. Okay, Common, Deep Speech, Elvish, Sylvan, and also telepathy up to 60 feet.
Okay, I'll come back to Nulls in a second. Titus, Fob,
And-
Direxus, what about you?
Bob speaks Common, Orc, and Thieves' Cant.
Okay, definitely not those. Titus, what about you?
Amun and Zekish.
Okay. Well, I wish it really
Yeah,
were Zekish.
Nothing from this planet.
Aha! Draxus, what about you?
I don't speak anything from this planet. I can read all writing
Yeah.
because of auto translate within my Cybermancer deck, but I can't understand all language.
Okay. Well, Nulls, you can. So, Fob, what you hear is sort of gibberish to you, but as you look at the figures across the chamber, they do look to be. One of them looks to be fairly heavily armored. One of them is more lightly armored, like in leather as opposed to metal. And then there are 2 kind of cloaked figures, but they have their hoods back, both of the cloaked figures. And so you get to see the telltale point at the end of the ears of these creatures. You're pretty sure you're looking at Twilight elves. And they have a couple of them, the big one with the armor anyway. There's a couple of weapons leaning against the wall. They have taken no notice of you, and as I say, they are against the western wall and are sort of occupied. And as you look, you can see that there are what look like obviously cards being sort of passed back and forth across the table, with some kind of laughter and sort of chatting and so forth going on. You don't know what they're saying, but they look like elves.
They have no sense that my party is rapidly approaching.
Not yet. I mean, but,
So-
you know.
I'm going to get back to my party and be like, stop, and signal in eloquent hand signals and mime the presence of Twilight elves playing cards up ahead, but they have weapons.
Okay.
Well,
How many of them were there, Greg?
4. 2 of them cloaked, 1 in that heavy armor and 1 in the lighter armor. And they were on the western wall, so, for whatever that's worth.
I don't know what you folks want to do. I could probably sneak up on one and dispose of them. But
So it's not just that they're there, but also their weapons are on the wall.
Right.
they're playing cards for money, so there's money
Yes.
lying around too. That's important.
And that's of course that is very, very important. We can clean up after, but grabbing their weapons before they know we're there would also be useful.
How feasible does that seem to me, Greg, that I could sneak up and steal their weapons?
Well, they're far enough away that it's conceivable to you might be able to sneak past them entirely. Although, again, if people make noise, not so much. You don't know whether you'd be able to, because the weapons are on the wall, sort of like leaning next to each other on the far side of the table. So, I mean, listen, I've seen some pretty amazing stealth work in my time. It's possible that you could come up and pull the weapons without them noticing, but that would be, you think, degree of difficulty harder than just sneaking past them entirely. Which doesn't mean that that's going to be easy either. But you think going up and stealing their weapons? Maybe, but it's the weapons are pretty close to the table is the problem.
I I'm sure I could do it, but it doesn't seem fair. So maybe we shouldn't do that.
And since when did we care about fair?
Well,
But
There's enough gambling going on at the table.
there we go.
These are probably like hired mercenaries or something. They didn't really, from your description, they don't look like, spirit callers or anything.
No.
I'd say that there's no way that we get, if they see us, I think we have to fight them, because we can't trust them not to report to their betters about intruders.
That would provide more footage of me biting things.
It would, but not sure if that's worth a fight, to be honest. We do have these, and I'll pull from my backpack. When we were assailed by those spirit caller assassins, I made it a point to grab their cloaks. So I have in my inventory 3 quote-unquote cloaks worn by spirit caller assassins. So we could try to play the part, but I just see that's going wrong.
I love this plan. You knew I would. It involves disguising ourselves.
And I do have telepathy, and I guess I'm not sure.
Knowles apparently has telepathy as well.
Yes, that's cool.
And so speaks Elvish.
We could. Well, you didn't. We didn't understand what they were saying, though.
I will point out
Elvish gibberish.
I will point out something very, very interesting about these Twilight elves and the ones that we met when we first arrived, because Knowles spoke to them in Elvish and they did not understand.
Oh, right.
I think he was saying.
Yeah, it's their own dialect.
Do they speak their own language?
Yeah, like Silesian probably, or something.
Right.
Draxus will say, or speaking of spirit caller assassins, you say that they're playing a game, they're gambling?
They are gambling, yes.
Didn't we just receive a whole pouch full of poisoned coins?
Yes, we do have a pouch full of poisoned coins. It's on my inventory.
It's an elaborate plan, but we could be very friendly and be like, oh, let's throw this into the pot. And then they do, and then job done. But I don't know. I think it might just be simpler to attack them.
I mean, we could always try poison first, and if that doesn't work, maybe they're slowed down a little.
Titus, what do you think?
Titus shrugs.
Are you feeling all right, my friend?
Titus shrugs.
Oh, Jaraxus kneels down and looks Titus in the eye. What's going on?
Titus still shrugs.
Titus, I saw you with the memory crystal. Did something come up to your memory when you saw that mother and child?
Titus looks glassy-eyed, looks directly at you, Halls, and says the following. Sorry, camera's a little intense right now. Wow. Yeah. That is for another time. But none of the options here seem like the right one. So I think it's up to you.
But you're also part of our team. What would you say is the right option?
Or the closest to right?
Titus considers this for a second and then says, it doesn't matter what I think. We're under the clock here. We're on pressure. We need to do something. Otherwise, we're going to get discovered.
That is a good point.
I look past Titus and am reminded that we also have a blind direwolf with us.
Yes.
And I'm like, subtlety might be harder than we thought.
Well, but wait a minute. Is it possible to make it seem like one of the poison coins dropped from the table? Or a couple of poison coins drop from the table and have them pick it up and circulate it amongst themselves?
Just a sec. I mean, so we've got these Twilight elves, and they're out here kind of in the middle of nowhere playing cards. So they were clearly waiting for somebody. Are they waiting for us? Are they guarding something? Like, why are they here?
Well, I think any situation that involves using the coins, that's a step 2. Step 1 is being disguised and making it seem, first of all, like we know that we're supposed to be here. Which, also, none of us really look the part.
What if we send in one person disguised, see how they react to the person, and then if they don't react well, we kill them?
Maybe just knock them out. Maybe we can question one of them.
Kill, question. Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Can I ask you for a description again of the room that we're looking at? That we're looking at them.
It's a circular room about 30 feet in diameter, and across the way, you're at the southern end of it. Across the way is this 10-foot archway that leads into a fairly well-lit, it should be said, passageway. And there are lights, again, within this circular room also. The 4 that I mentioned are sitting at a table, playing cards, their weapons against the wall, on the western wall, so on the leftmost side as you're looking into the room.
What's the height of the room?
I believe 30 feet.
And how well lit is it?
Pretty well lit room, and the passage beyond it.
Including it's well lit on the ceiling 30 feet up.
Yes, I would say so. There are what look like some kind of, Fob and Nulls would think of it as probably ever-burning torches. Jaraxxus and Titus would think of it as sort of like, everglow type of lanterns that are around the sides of the room. There's a good number of them. So there's not a lot of shadow up top, although, it is a little darker up there than it is on the floor, ground level with the tables. With the table, singular.
Okay, Titus has an idea. I'm gonna talk it out to the rest of the group, and then Titus will actually talk about it a bit. But I have a Assault drone, which has articulated, it's got a plasma torch, but it's also gives me the ability to create something and move it into the room in a way that should be able to reach them pretty quickly. It doesn't last very long, but I might be able to, in some way, create a distraction with that thing. And if we can place the coins on the table, or we can drop them, or we can do something. Maybe we can drop the bag somewhere and create it as a distraction, and then they can go retrieve it. And so, that's one option that we have, where none of us actually have to get close enough to actually be distraction or be the group or the person to sort of engage them in any particular way, disguised or otherwise.
I like this. Did you say Titus is gonna?
Titus, that's the general idea, and then Titus he basically looks to you guys, looks at the room, looks at you guys, and says, "Come on, folks. I got an idea. I have an assault drone. It might be able to get close enough, but I don't know how we're going to actually deliver or distract them. Thoughts?"
Well, would your drone have them looking upward?
We could, but I don't. If the goal is to get the coins in the hands, I don't know how we're going to do that. Also, when we took these off of another one of these guys. I imagine that they were familiar or aware, and they might know what these actually are. They may not just pick them up and just manipulate them and fall asleep for one. And Titus, kind of shakes his head and doesn't know what to think.
Well, you said it first yourself. We can't spend too much time figuring this out, so let's try it. Send your drone in to get them to look away from the table, and then maybe fob if they probably won't all get up, but it could. Fob, you could have the coins and maybe sneak the coins onto the table, or.
Ooh, all right.
Well, you also said assault, so if they're not tricked by the coins, at least we have a little bit of a jump on them, right?
Right.
What if I make a distraction through that archway and get them to go that way? Maybe somebody will go investigate.
Sure. Let's give it a shot.
All right.
Make sure we grab them weapons while they're gone.
So the archway is to the north, you said?
Correct.
And they're
directly
on the
across from
wall?
where you are.
Okay. The distance is 30 feet. Is that
Yes,
correct?
that's right.
Okay. So I'm going to use the talent assault drone.
Okay.
And you can make a ruling, out of combat or whatever about this, but in combat it can move up to 50 feet, and then take action or whatever, and it lasts for about a minute.
Okay.
So Titus is going to create this thing and have it essentially ascend to the ceiling and kind of basically just skim the ceiling to the other side, go into that other room, and use the torch to try to either make some noise or light something on fire.
Okay. In the passageway past the room, or
That's correct.
Okay.
Right at the doorway, just something to create a distraction in that direction.
Okay. Okay. So while the rest of you gather at the entrance, the drone, is created, flies up, heads across, and then I think just scraping against the top. Probably even if you wish to do it that way. Also important, just inside the passage, right? On the other side. The reason I ask that is, what do you want to do if they come at? Well, actually, I'll ask this question now. So it goes to the other side and does that. When it begins to make this sound, let me make sure that they. Yes, they do in fact perceive that sound. One of them, actually, the cloaked one, looks, and then sort of looks across and sees the sort of sparking of your assault drone kind of, deliberately banging into the, ceiling and stuff like that. And calls out, and the heavily armored and the not as armored one, along with the other cloaked figure, all stand up, sort of shove their chairs back from the table, grab weapons from the wall, and head immediately in that direction. And you can see there's some glowing blue light as one of the cloaked figures begins to move their hands around.
And sorry, how many of them get up and move to go chase?
All four of them.
Oh, great. Okay, cool.
Yep. Now was my question, Titus. Now what? I think it's great. Should we get out of here?
The coins go into place.
Yeah, we put the coins on the table.
Okay.
I sneak up to put the coins on the table.
Okay, I'm going to have you make a stealth check to
yeah.
do that, Fob. Do that at advantage. Titus, are you letting the drone stay so that they catch up to it? Basically, beyond it, or are you just sending it to parts unknown, is what I'm wondering.
So I imagine that once I'm able to to move it out,
I'm going to go with the 25.
25, yeah, no kidding. Go on, Titus.
I imagine I'm able to make enough noise to keep it going down that path long enough for this distraction to work.
Okay.
And then at the end of it, I know Carlos had said, we were playing Esper Genesis, that Carlos had said that the way that he described it was like things just kind of like disappeared or fell apart, kind of like with the Esper power works, so that I believe that this drone will just sort of either disintegrate or just disassemble in some way that just become, something that isn't really identifiable.
Okay.
Right? It's not going to stand out as unusual to anybody. So
Okay.
I'm going to let the thing just go down that passageway as long as possible, and then just let its time run out or let its distance run out for,
Okay.
because once it gets beyond 50 feet, I think it also has a very similar effect of like, I can't maintain the Esper energy or whatever around this.
Okay.
The talent or whatever.
So I think that Fob is able to go over. How many coins are you putting on the table there, Fob?
A handful of them, so like 10.
Okay. And you do see a couple of small little piles of coins already on the table. There seems to be more in particular in front of one of where the cloaked figures was sitting, and one of where the light armored person was sitting, but everyone has a little bit of money there.
I'm going to distribute them pretty evenly, but a couple extra for the cloaked figure.
Okay, sounds good. All right, you do that, and then you're able to come back. You're heading back to your side of the passage, right? So you get back there just before there's this sort of as something shatters or breaks or something past the room, and after a minute or so, you see coming back into the room, looking not particularly happy, are the 4 figures that I previously mentioned. They are talking to each other rather angrily in that language. And Knowles, I would say at this point, you are able to very occasionally pick up a word, but it's garbled and you're not sure. So some things like, you more or less you think what you're hearing is something about pissed off. If you had to describe it, like anger or something. But it's very, very like rough and crude, and they're saying way more than that. So it's like picking up something that was a language that branched off a language that you knew a long time ago, but it's been a long time since they've been the same. But clearly there's a little bit of this sort of elvish thing that might have been a curse at one point in the elvish language or the equivalent. But that's pretty much as you get. Either way, you don't even need to have it translated to know that they're not happy. And
am I picking up anything of a name or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
No way to know that. They could all be names, frankly. When they come back to the room, they go over to the table, and you can see one of them, the sort of heavily armored one, looks down at the pile, still looking unhappy, and then kind of like slams his gauntleted hand down on the table, and the coins sort of scatter, and then everyone starts and they start yelling at him, like, sort of gesticulating, and they all start moving to try to like move the piles back into where they were, right? Sort of moving them back. So they do this as you're watching. Now, question, are you doing anything while you're watching them do this other than just watching?
I'm recording.
Of course you are. Anybody else?
No.
Just being quiet.
Watching intently.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, trying to make out anything of what they're saying.
Yes.
Yeah,
This is the run through in Skyrim of you just have poison apples in your inventory. You reverse pickpocket the guards, sit back for 10 minutes. Wait.
Yep. I'm thinking about the game that you watched, Toya and Zach watched, of Styx, where you can go, like, you have this where you're actually able to poison the some of the drink for some of the guards. Well, after about a minute or so, they are all sort of talking to each other still. They've at this point sat back down. They've put their weapons back in the wall, and then one of them, the heavily armored one, sort of stands up and sort of is like puts his gauntleted hand down on the table, and then kind of stares, and then just sort of falls on his back, and there's a smashing sound, and the other 3 leap up, and then as they're going over to them, you can see that they also, the lightly armored one is sort of grabbing around his neck and then sort of keels over also. The cloaked figure, sort of one of the 2 cloaked figures, goes over and points and does this as if like, the universal sign for drinking too much, and then falls over doing the classic Princess Bride, Vizzini and Princess Bride thing. And the last one, sort of seeing this, takes a few steps back and turns around, his eyes wild, and begins to step out of the chamber and gets about 3 steps and then falls over on his face and lies still.
Okay, so now it's time to move quickly, but also time to loot to see if we see anything useful on them, including like magical devices or whatever. I'm also wondering, do we know which coins are the poison ones? Because dang, it would be nice to have them.
Yeah.
They are very mixed now, though.
All right, so
No,
let's
thanks.
loot and see what we can find.
Titus is going
First
to
of
go
all, we're
through
going to
the
take their weapons.
Okay, go ahead, Titus.
Titus is going to go through the archway and kind of investigate without going too terribly far, revealing myself.
Okay, I will talk about that to Titus in a minute. Null's looking at the weapons. Fob and Jaraxxus, what about you? Like, is Fob going to try for the money? I mean, again, it is sort of mixed together with the poison stuff now.
Well, yes. Yes.
That is true, yes.
Yes, I will try for the money.
Oh,
But
God.
It's not. We should not leave that money there. They'll just
Oh,
put
my
it to
gosh.
bad use.
But Jaraxxus goes towards the bodies as well, and then sees Fob starting to reach for the gold, and grabs Fob by the shoulder and says, "Hey, wait! What are you doing? Do you want to end up like them?"
I'm just gonna get the gold. I'm not gonna take back any of the poison coins. I'm gonna pick out the gold.
But they look identical.
I thought the poison coins. We can't tell. They're not like a different denomination.
You
They're just.
could before they were mixed.
Oh, damn it!
Also, aren't we patting down the bodies too to see if there's anything on those?
You
Yeah.
could. You could
Yeah.
if you wish.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes,
I will
that's what-
say, Fob, one thing is that you could theoretically, avoiding touching it, move the coins into like a pouch or whatever. It's just that
I'm gonna do that.
you could try
I'm
to
gonna
do that. Yeah.
Scoop it into a pouch, and now I've got a pouch of truly mixed currency.
Mixed. Yes, exactly. In every respect. Nulls, when you and Jaraxxus are patting down the bodies, you can see that they have, and I'm going to include the weapons in this, even though the weapons are technically up against the wall. But there is the heavily armored one has a greatsword, so a very impressive looking greatsword, and a heavy crossbow. Whether it's magical or not, you might not be able to tell, but definitely the other stuff that I just mentioned is the case. The lightly armored one has a short sword and what looks like kind of a light crossbow that they're using. And then lastly, the acolytes, all these ones that are in the cloaks, all of these have simply clubs at their belts. You would guess that these would remember one of them was actually starting to wave and there was blue light, probably spellcasters if you had to guess, but they do have clubs on them, simple clubs from what you can tell. Of this, the heavy crossbow and light crossbow are both in very good condition. You don't know if they're magical or not. The greatsword is impressive, but it's bulky. I mean, it is a definite greatsword.
So you said the light crossbow and the heavy crossbow are in good condition.
Yes.
Okay.
And the sword, for that matter, is just heavy.
And the great sword.
Yeah.
Who could carry the great sword?
I could not wield it. Well, I could, but I probably won't.
Okay.
It's about 3 times the size of Titus, so that gets rid of that idea.
There's no way.
You could sell it at some point if you can't use it.
If this were Dark Souls, you could just put it in the mouth of Gamork and wait for him to just swing it
Yes.
like this.
Yes.
Bob
Don't
could
tempt us,
use it, but
DM.
it's
I
not
grab
as
I grab
strong.
the great sword and I hand it to Gamork.
Yes.
I wasn't really asking you to do that.
It's happening now.
Bob, do you have a
Gamork
crossbow?
glares at you. It's like
Nah,
Gamork does.
okay. I
Say
back
that
away.
again, Toya.
Do you have a crossbow?
I don't have a
this-
crossbow.
Okay. So
I thought
know...
you do. Are you sure about that? I thought
Wait,
that you've
look.
used it, Fob. I thought you've used that crossbow in the past.
I have a short bow.
Oh, okay. My fault then.
So
Sorry.
I already have a light crossbow. So Fob should take the light crossbow. I'm assuming that Nulls can also wield a heavy crossbow. That's going to do more damage.
The heavy crossbow, though, that is going to require a certain proficiency in that weapon.
Martial weapon.
It's a martial weapon, and I don't think Nulls has got proficiency in that. So you can wield it, but you're going to be at a negative to do it because I think maybe because you're not used to using this. A heavy crossbow is like the the crank it up type of deal. So
So can Fob wield a heavy crossbow?
Fob is not proficient in.
Okay.
Oh no, actually, Fob is proficient in
Take
crossbow.
the heavy crossbow.
But yeah.
Well,
I'll take the heavy crossbow.
yours is I think
But
it
it
says
says
crossbow
crossbow.
hand, which is a very funny way of formatting the words hand crossbow.
Hand
what
crossbow
you're-
Oh.
is even lighter than a light crossbow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then
But
forget.
and then a light crossbow is a simple weapon, so I think between the both of you, you both could only use the light crossbow. The heavy crossbow is something that like a knight or a soldier knows how to use.
Again, we can take the. Well, first of all,
Knowledge.
I don't want the weapons lying around for somebody else to pick them up if
Yeah.
somebody comes after us.
We should
We
Take
should
them and sell them.
with it. Yeah. Or
Okay.
at the very least, sell them at some point. Elu might want a great sword at some point when we see her again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want
I
to be
don't know
that
if
guy
Ellen could
about this.
also-
I'm willing to let you do all of that. I do want to point out that a greatsword is a very large weapon, and if you're trying to be stealthy, it's going to be hard to carry that with you and do that. I'm not an encumbrance DM, but I do want to point out that is
Right.
more than your average bear in terms of weapons. Like, it's a good size.
What if someone was very stealthy but had a very high strength too?
Oh, they could. Well, in that scenario, I guess the question would be like I'm imagining. You tell me, Kat, but I'm imagining that Fob, when sort of going through the shadows, is kind of like crouching. I'm just thinking about doing that with a greatsword.
Okay,
like
that's fair enough.
that's all. But again, I'm not saying you can't do it. You could, I guess, like even strap it to Gamork's back. Honestly, the only issue is whether Gamork is going to be as effective when he's got a
Could we
big metal piece.
wrap it to Gamork's head and then he could run people?
You could just
Sure, and when I ask you to have Gamork make a stealth, clang, 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 clang.
Yeah, but you know what? I can't imagine Gamork wouldn't want a badass greatsword on his back.
Mm.
I mean, isn't it about the length of Gamork? I'm going to guess.
It's
So even if he goes running in with a greatsword on him, he could nick somebody with it.
yeah. I don't know whether I don't know how proficient Gamork is in the use of back-mounted greatswords.
Draxus
How is he
says-
proficient in storage?
I was going to say, right. I think that he's. I would allow you to sort of strap it on to him as sort of a storage device, but it could have an effect on stealth later on. I'm just letting you know.
Okay. No matter who we give it to, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Although, right, yeah.
Unless we had a barbarian in the party.
If
Yeah, I
Elu
just
was
feel
with
like-
you, you could give it
Yes.
to Elu, for sure. But it's
Yeah.
just at the moment she's not, obviously.
I'm thinking of the future and how that might be really helpful in Elu's hands.
Okay.
And I don't know how I
Yeah,
honestly
let's-
don't know how often you come across weapons like this. I don't
Right.
know.
Let's strap it to, because at the very least this keeps it away from them when they wake up.
True.
So let's strap it to Gamork's side like a saddle sword.
Okay.
And who takes the heavy crossbow? If we don't take it, we need to damage it.
I'll take it. I can't use it, but I'll keep a hold of it.
Okay.
Would it be beneficial for Titus to have one of the clubs?
No,
Okay.
it would be bulky and yeah. No.
Speaking of Titus, as you were all, and that's all, by the way, that you see on the table, other than the cards, which are just very normal, ordinary-looking cards that Knowles and Fob are familiar with, Jaraxxus and Titus not so much, but they're just regular cards from what you can tell. As you're sort of gathering that together, Titus, you mentioned that you were going on to the next room, and I did want to mention that as you go through this, the passage narrows a little bit, and then enters, again, it's lit, this passageway, and then exits through this arch, as I mentioned, into an area which is quite fairly sizable, I would say, in which rows of square indentations, and I'll have a map for you shortly about this, running along the western wall of the room, and the indentations appear every few feet between something which I'll describe in a moment. On the eastern wall of this room is a large faded mirror which is mounted to a bronze frame. But as striking as all of that is, Titus, even more striking is, as you're looking at the indentations, there are lines of glowing script. Could you make a lore check for me, please?
About 13.
As you look at this language, the runes, it seems to be languages that are garbled, but they are also combined. Titus, if you didn't know better, you would swear that the runes are written in a mixture of Dendusi and Keshian. And that seems like a good time to take our break. You are watching the amazing crew from Expedition from the Mysterious Peaks. We are running today until 10:30 p.m. Eastern, so this will be just a 5-minute break. If you like what you see, please make sure to cheer for this crew by cheering within the chat, so that money can go to them, specifically Johnny Pippin, Toya Kristen Finley, Kat Rambo, and Zach Clay. We will be back here in just about 5 minutes, and then we'll find out what Titus and the rest of them want to do about all of that stuff. Please, until then, hang tight, and we'll be right back. All right. Welcome back, everybody. We are here and we have returned for the closing 40 minutes or so of Expedition from the Mysterious Peaks. And you are watching, actually, I'll move you over to the map screen. You are watching Johnny, Toya, Kat, and Zach do their usual awesome role-play magic as we continue to play through. Again, reminder, please do those cheers if you are enjoying what you're seeing. And please follow all the things, buy all the books relative to whoever it is that you happen to be looking at for this awesome crew. All right, so aforementioned awesome crew. I've just mentioned what I saw with Titus, and I have a map for all of you to look at, actually. And I'm going to bring you over to it now. And so Titus, whoops, there we go there. Titus, you are standing basically right here. Please ignore the number. I apologize. But right here. And this is this large rectangular chamber that, as I say, reaches down. And there were these rows of square indentations running along the western wall of the room. And there is, as I mentioned, this large faded mirror, which is mounted to a bronze frame that is on the eastern wall. Thank you, Prince Justin, for the cheer. Thank you so much for the 200 bits. I will add that to the list. Thank you, thank you. Very kind of you. Appreciate it. Okay, so let me just mark that down. Hold on a second. Okay, great. Thank you, Prince Justin, so much. Oh, and you got a new 1,000 bits badge on top of it. Thank you, Prince Justin. Congratulations on the new bits badge.
It looks good on you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it does. It's exactly your color. Good stuff. Okay, so yes, so that is what you see. And I should also mention, let me just double check here on this. Where did my map go? Show me the map. There we go. Yeah, so the mirror, that's what I wanted to be clear about. This is the mirror that I'm referring to. So down here, there's an exit out this way leading into another room to the south. And then this appears to be some kind of sort of possibly translucent door, but you'd have to get closer to see what it looks like, Titus. But that's what you can see from your position.
Titus is gonna move back into the other room and grab Draxus and kind of like pull him aside a second and say, I believe there's something Dindusi.
Say that again?
The Dindusi language. I believe it's here on the walls in the next passage.
That's what I thought you said. What do you mean? There's what? No, you must. It maybe looks like writing. Let me see it.
Yeah, I'll show it to you. This is the first sign I've seen distinctly of our world or our place in the cosmos or whatever. This something else is going on here. And he kind of motions you back towards the passageway, not crossing the precipice, Greg, but making sure that both of us can like get a good clear view of the slots and the dancing characters, essentially.
Okay. And I think for the moment I'm going to bring over, I think I just have, does this work? No, it does not. There we go. For just the moment, I'm bringing over these non-existent art things to represent the characters. But it should be noted, chat, that as I previously mentioned, that will be replaced with actual art very soon, and I believe by our next session probably. So this is soon to be replaced with actual stuff. In the meantime, though, I will use some nameplates and stuff. So we'll put that up there. And I think, Jaraxis, you should have control over that I just gave you. And Titus, you should have control over yours. Can you just double check and see if you do?
Yep.
Ah! Titus sprints down the hall. Yes, okay. Okay, so you're up standing there. All right. You just got Jaraxxus, right? So just as a quick note to Fob and Nulls, you can see that Jaraxxus, like, Titus speaks quietly to, Jaraxxus. And then the two of them head off down the passageway again. I will come back to see if there's anything you want to do about that in a moment. And then Jaraxxus, you come back and see what it is that I've described. And yes, indeed, it looks like, although you need to get a little bit closer to it, but between each of these indentations are more of these sort of this runic script, which looks like it is a mixture somehow of Dendusi and Keshian. But it's all sort of warped and all over the place, and there's other letters there that don't make sense. It's kind of like if you could imagine sort of looking at half a word is English, half a word is French, and then like there's a couple of symbols you use in like C++ programming. Like it's that kind of weird combination. But again, you need to get closer to see more in detail.
I'd love to get closer to see more in detail, and I picked up this vicious scrolling. I picked up this complex pattern called Auto Translate. You can read any writing on any surface that you can see. The translated writing is visible only to you.
Right. So the language itself, though, the issue is not recognizing what it is or even being able to read it. The issue is that what you're reading is literally that combination. So it's like...
so it doesn't... If I knew...
Cam fromage hashtag.
Okay.
Like,
so
like,
not only is it in different languages, but it's also scrambled, kind of.
Well, yeah, it's like a mashup.
Right, but it's not like it's, C in Dendusi, A in this language, T in that language.
No,
yeah.
It's more like half a word in one language, half a word in another.
Okay.
With
So it's
some
almost like a
occasional
rebus puzzle.
Yeah, maybe. Or perhaps. Perhaps.
And I can't, other than recognizing that it's Dendusi and Keshi, and I can't obviously like understand any of it. Is the conclusion of that?
Correct. Other than to say that it unquestionably is those languages mixed, though you think possibly with what looks like almost like computerized programming language on top of it. And there's a lot of such script in each of these indentations that I mentioned.
Yeah, I'd love to push my hand forward and cast Analyze Device again and see if these indentations have a function of some sort.
So inside them, actually, before you even do the Analyze Device, I can tell you that they are they're these 2-foot square. They almost look like, well, openings or ports or something, and inside them is each of these indentations is a small metal rod. And when you reach forward and touch one of those rods, because of the Analyze Device thing, I need you to make a Constitution saving throw for me, please.
Okie dokie. 20 total. Very lucky.
Okay. So, as you touch these things, you are zapped for 4 points of lightning damage. So there's this, and you kind of like fall back, and you then can see there's no real like obvious energy coursing over it, but you now know for sure, Jaraxxus, that there is energy coursing through this rod that you touched.
Given that it's been several hours since I first cast Innervate, it sort of like the average now is 6 temporary, so that puts me down to 2 temporary.
Okay.
Ow. Does my analyze device tell me, given that I touched it, that you're meant to touch these rods, or like that they are?
No, you don't think so, but you do think that these are connections of some kind. Something is designed to slot into or connect to these things.
Oh. Okay.
While you're looking... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. The only other thing I was going to ask is, does this remind me of the indentations in the wall that we saw of that secret door that opened, of the woman and the child?
No, that felt a little bit more organic, might be the way to put it. This seems much more mechanical. In fact, this probably is the most mechanical thing you've seen since arriving on the planet, except possibly for the strikers, the creatures that you fought that were mechanical in a similar way, or maybe, I guess, Gamork's mechanical modifications.
Okay.
Fob and Knowles, what are you folks doing as you have now seen that I don't think you heard the zap, but now that you've looted the room that you're in to the extent that you think you can?
I'm going to stealth up to come down the hall towards where Titus and Jaraxxus are.
By the way, that pouch that you filled up, Fob now has about 20 of those mixed coins. They all look gold, but as you know, some of them are more dangerous. Some of them, bless you, some of them are more dangerous than others.
So there's 20 coins altogether.
Correct.
And 10 of them poisoned, and 10 of them are okay.
That's right.
It'll be a good gambling game, I'm sure.
It'll be a lot of fun. Knowles, are you following Fob as Fob stealths up?
I don't hear anything out of the ordinary as we're in the room.
You do not so far, no.
Okay, so I am going to stand in this. This is in the doorway is Titus right now.
In the doorway is Titus. Jaraxxus is probably Jaraxxus. You're probably like here. Would be one of the closest indentation. Fob is behind you. Fob, I gave you control just now, so you can move your character wherever you want to move them. And Knowles, I'm going to do the same for you in just a moment here.
And where is Gamork?
And Gamork is behind you, and sort of bringing up the rear, growling as usual.
So I'm going to try to stand. I can't really stand behind Titus, but that's where I'm trying to stand.
I see you. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Fob, you're stealthing up into the room. Then I see.
Yes.
Okay.
You need a stealth roll, or?
Yes, I think that's a good idea. You don't know what is or is not in this room.
19.
Okay,
Nice.
So you quietly move forward, which means I can show you. There's more of those indentations. There's more of the strange runic language that on the side. Although you Fob do not recognize that language at all. Like none of that makes any sense to you. But I will say that when you get to this area here, when you pass by this this mirror, you can see that it appears cloudy and discolored. And the bronze frame itself, and then to see more, you need to get closer to it, but just as you're passing by, has this strange metallic pattern and these thin glass-like striations, basically, on the bronze frame that surrounds the mirror. And then you have the door over here leading somewhere else, and the entrance down here to a now that you're that close, you can probably see that it's a somewhat smaller chamber that looks like this. And there's a door in the western side of that chamber. If there's anything else in the chamber, you need to actually go into it to see it, but that's what you can see from where you are. That's all I have to say to any of it, unless you all tell me what you're thinking about.
Oh, I thought you were still talking to Fob.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Nope, that's what
Well,
Fob sees.
Jaraxxus will be confused and then walk forward to look at the mirror.
And
I guess.
Nalik will ask, well, what's going on in here? Seems like a party, but ain't nobody having fun.
I walk back over to the wall and I point at where the indentations are and I say, well, needless to say, we're not having fun because, well, more intrigued. And I point at the wall. Some of this is my language, my species' language, and others that, as far as I'm aware, are not on this world.
I gather you can't make sense of it?
Even this dang thing, and I tap my visor. It lets me read every language, but it's scrambled here. What I could figure out after it shocked me, literally, was that it is where a device would be like slotted in or something. Maybe like a language stone or something. I don't know.
Hey, Fob, how close do you get to this entrance down here? I'm not being ominous. I just want to know where, like, what you open up.
Right about where I am.
Okay. All right. So I can show you just a little bit of the passageway beyond here, which goes in there. It's probably a little bit too much, actually. Which goes in there. And the passageway then turns over and turns up to the north. And as I say, that door is sort of this oddly translucent. It almost looks like glass, Fob, like a glass door. There's no obvious handle on it, but you can see through it to this little passageway beyond it. And the door sort of quality down here is similar, but of course you need to get there to see what is on the other side of it. You can see through this a little bit. Jaraxxus, since you mentioned this, as you're looking at this thing, I need you to make a computers check for me, please.
All right. I'm pretty good at those. Hopefully I may have spoken too soon. Yeah, I spoke a little too soon, but 12.
This looks familiar somehow, Jaraxxus, but you're not sure how. There's something about it that seems as if you've seen something like it before.
I now getting in the habit of touching strange things, I will touch the mirror, and I guess since casting Analyze Device is free, I'll also do that.
Okay. Are you touching now? Remember, I mentioned there are these like striations on it, and there's like a strange metallic pattern on the bronze frame, and then there's the mirror itself.
I'll touch the frame.
Okay. Anything like okay, so that's as you touch the frame, suddenly the mirror in front of you lights up, and there's a bright red runic symbol that goes on for maybe 2 seconds and then disappears.
Was that red flashing enough for Knowles to see it?
I wouldn't say flashing, but appearing in front of him. And maybe Knowles, it depends, I guess, if you're looking. The mirror is a little bit, I mean, it's set in the wall, so you might be, but actually, you know what? You probably could see it reflect off of Jaraxxus' visor now that I think of it.
Okay.
So yeah.
So Knowles is going to come into the room a little bit. This is the evening of people rediscovering things about their characters, and Knowles has the Sage feature. She's a researcher,
right?
So I'm just going to read this because there was a rune that showed up. When you attempt to learn or recall a piece of lore, if you do not know that information, you often know where and from whom you can obtain it. Usually this information comes from a library, scriptorium, university, or a sage or other learned person or creature. So I'm wondering, would Knowles have some idea of what that rune is?
Knowles has never seen anything like that before.
Okay. Well, that in itself is good to know.
Titus, what are you doing?
Titus is looking at the wall of slots, I guess, or indentations and circuits, and he's trying to figure out mechanically what's going on here, because this is very clearly some sort of power source, given what just happened to Draxus. So he's gonna use mechanics, and he's gonna try to sort that out.
Okay, so you're gonna head over to one of the indentations to do so.
I'm gonna examine it pretty thoroughly, but like it's not like Titus is not focusing on the language. He's focusing or the script.
No, I got you on the slots themselves.
Right, he's focusing on the function.
Okay, yeah. So go ahead and make a mechanics check, and also I would move next to Nulls then, because Nulls is looking at one of those, or you could go down to they're all along both walls actually. 16, yeah. So for sure, you can tell two things. One, this definitely has energy of some kind coursing through it. You probably could have figured that out anyway from Draxus being shocked. But two, almost certainly, this is something that is intending to have something placed or slotted within it. And the fact that there are as many of them as there are indicates that multiples of these could probably be placed into these slots at the same time. So it's not just, one of these, because you've got, 10, 15, 20, whatever. Multiple of these were meant to be used probably simultaneously, or could be used simultaneously. And it definitely is a reception point, like a power outlet.
Who ended up with the hilt?
We don't have the hilt.
You left it with Glimmerleaf.
Titus pulls out one of the crystals that he got from the merchant.
Okay.
And holds it close to, without putting it inside of the essentially the indentation itself, but like close to.
Nothing happens.
We might need to keep looking around.
Titus takes a lantern that he acquired.
Right. I remember that.
He was trying to figure out how Magitech worked. It is a Magitech lantern, basically. Bringing it out, does it, and then turning on the power source or whatever, does it affect the power, or does it affect the brightness of the light being close to?
Doesn't appear to.
Well, wait a minute. You said that was Draxus's language on the wall, right? So maybe it's not an energy source from my world, but yours.
This lantern is built up of both our worlds. My hope had been that it would be able to tell us a little bit more about what's going on here. The hilt, I think, is something that we probably should have brought. It could have helped us understand this. But did you find anything on the bodies?
Not
Draxus shakes his head.
Plain weapons.
Yeah.
But do you have anything from your world that you could try to activate?
Draxus will. He'll say, I feel like we're only a few steps away from seeing maybe what the purpose of all this is, but I do have an extra sim unit, and I'll pull out from my inventory my second sim unit, which says a rig that allows the user direct access to the Silrain Intergalactic Matrix. A sim unit allows the user to create and modify programs and experience the sim in a virtual reality environment. Blah, 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 blah. So I'll attempt to plug. I mean, is it even possible, or am I trying to put a USB into a power outlet right now?
These do not seem compatible.
Yeah. I say we keep looking. Right now, I think we're all confused.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at Fob and say, pick a hallway, any hallway.
Well, is
Well,
there
how about this one I'm standing next to?
before we leave the hallway, is there anything on the mirror that Nulls would recognize?
Well, if you want to go next to it, you can take a look. No, to you, it's these strange symbols, kind of these as I mentioned, sort of this weird metallic pattern, and these thin glass-like striations on the frame, and then the mirror itself is cloudy and discolored.
Well, have we tried to actually look in the mirror, like really look in it? It's cloudy and discolored, but is it there? It reflected. Well, no, that was the visor. But have we actually tried to look into the mirror?
I mean, to the extent that Jaraxxus did, but
Not really. I mean, you're probably you're standing in front of it right now, but
And I can't see anything in it.
yeah.
it's dim and cloudy. Even in sort of light, it just seems to be these a few sort of like warped shadows, and that's it.
So we've tried to activate like the notches, for lack of a better term, on the wall. How did Jaraxxus briefly activate the mirror?
I touched the frame.
Can we try the crystals or the lantern near the mirror?
Sure. Jaraxxus will pull out the crystals that he got and hold them up.
Okay. Nothing seems to happen. Titus, if you are looking at the mirror yourself at this point while these people are talking, then I'd like you to make a computer's check as well. Yeah, cloudy with a chance of reflections, exactly.
What a 7.
Again, strangely familiar, like you've seen something like this before, but bless you, but not anything that comes to mind immediately, but it does feel like something you've seen elsewhere, like not on this planet, elsewhere.
The rest of the room, it's made of stone,
Yes, but very smooth stone.
like well crafted and cut.
Worked, yes.
Okay. Titus is going to touch the mirror.
Okay. Nothing happens when you touch the mirror. Just now, the mirror, not the frame, right?
Right.
Okay, yeah, the mirror, nothing happens.
And Titus and Jaraxxus touches the frame.
When you touch that, there again is this flash for about 2 seconds of this strange-looking red runic symbol, and then it vanishes again.
Jaraxxus, can you video that?
Mm-hmm. Jaraxxus says, I was looking back, like touching it again is not going to do anything, but it did give me an idea. This is reminds me of a vid I was watching. I have a feeling that this is meant to be touched by something in specific, and that maybe this mirror is actually a doorway. Because if you touch it again and again, it turns red. Red is very often, for some reason, across the Silrain arc, red is often the color chosen to mean no access or stop or bad. So maybe something specific is meant to touch it. And then if it's not a doorway, maybe it is a mirror, but it shows another place or something. Either way, I'm with Fob. I think we're only in an inch in the pool when we need to just jump in at this point.
And is
Jaraxxus will walk over, but still look at you.
Is the stone responding to anything?
Not at the moment. The stone is not, no.
Is the stone still trying to lead us somewhere?
The stone now has just become sort of uniformly bright. It has not gotten brighter or darker since arriving in this area, or since arriving in the, kind of the complex that you're in right now.
All right.
Also, what is everyone's passive perceptions, by the way?
I think mine is 12.
Passive perception.
Yes.
12.
16.
12. Okay.
Where am I looking for that?
It's in a box on the left side of your character sheet.
16.
16. Nulls, you're probably too far away still to note this, but Fob is not. Fob, as you were standing by this door and kind of glance around the room, down here, this is why I was asking you before about how close you got. Once you got here, you have an angle on it. You can see there is a 2-foot square metal plate that's lying on the floor not far from the door in this southernmost chamber. Jaraxxus did not notice it, but Fob has.
I would like to go examine the plate without touching it.
Okay. So if you bring your character down to take a look, first of all, I will reveal a bit of that there is a room beyond this. Just a little bit that you can see.
Is that the metal plate that block?
No, that's on the other side. There
right.
is it's on this side actually, that you can see it.
Okay.
It is a 2-foot square metal plate, and you can see that there is a small hole, Fob, in the center of the plate, and there are line patterns branching out, sort of like regular looking line patterns branching out from the central hole along the surface in different ways.
I will call my companion's attention to this phenomenon.
Okay.
Look, fellow party members.
Who's going down to take a look?
Jaraxxus.
Okay, Jaraxxus, Titus, Nulls.
That has to come too.
Okay, Nulls, what about you?
I moved down.
Yeah.
Is there anything, have we seen these stripe patterns on anything else?
No, you have not. But Jaraxxus and neither is Fob, but Jaraxxus and Titus has. You don't need to check either of you to know what a circuit board looks like.
And it's on the ground?
Yes. It's just lying on the ground. It looks like a circuitry pattern. And it's 2 feet square. Or 2 feet, 2 feet square.
I put a hand on Fob's shoulder and point quietly to, I'm not actually moving here, but to this like corner, as if to tell Fob to like maybe peek around into the next room and without touching the plate.
I will do so.
Okay. When you peek around there, I will show you what you see. Again, clear door. And inside it...
The number 4! Ah!
Is a large number 4. No.
No!
And above it, Mambo number 5. No, that's not true. You see a large room. And inside this large room, you can see sets of decorative columns inside this chamber, which is a very large kind of grand chamber. Again, it goes further to the west, but that's as far as you can see by just peeking around the corner. And there is what looks like a 10-foot tall metallic cylinder, which is extending from a bronze-plated cube in the center of the floor. And even from your position, Fob, looking through that glass door, you can see a structure mounted with metal rods and black rope-like coils. And there are carvings down the cylinder's frame, which are illuminated with streams of red and purple light.
Oh, quite mysterious. I will make sure that the camera on my head gets a good shot of everything.
Oh, yeah, we have to remember that, Tiara.
Do we, with our knowledge of technology, look at that strangely described device, and then I'm like, oh, that's just a...
You would need, not just from Fob's physical description, you would need to sort of peek around yourself to take a look.
Okay. Draxus will try to do so.
Okay. When you look around there, you're not sure, except it sure as hell looks like a technological device.
Okay.
Looks like a machine.
And there's no sound, no strange sounds.
Not
far?
that you can hear, not that you can hear yet. But again, you don't know anything about this door, right? It's
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there? There's a circuit board in front of this door. There was not a circuit board in front of this door.
That's right. And I want to point out that the circuit board is just lying loose. It's not slotted into anything. It's just on the ground.
Oh, so as if it could have just been dropped or something. Is it? Does it seem not perfectly straight, like a painting
no,
cricket
it's
on
square.
the wall, but on the floor?
No.
Oh.
Well, I mean, it's 2 foot square, but it's lying akimbo. So I mean, you know, it's
that's my question.
Yeah, but it's
like it could be picked up.
Oh yeah,
sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Jaraxxus will hazard to pick it up.
You are zapped. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's fine. You pick it up with no problem. Hi, Live Zone.
I look it over. Oh, Jaraxxus looks with a little light bulb at everyone else, and he rushes past and goes to the wall with all the indentations.
Okay.
And tries to slot the circuit board into the wall.
It does fit perfectly, and when it does, you hear a hum from behind you.
I look at the mirror and I gesture for everyone to come over.
Is everyone going to do that? Because as you turn around...
Also, isn't going to get too close.
Yeah.
Jaraxxus is like, ooh.
Playing on the mirror is what looks essentially like what Fob and Nulls would describe as an illusion, and what Jaraxxus and Titus would describe as a recording. And it shows a cylindrical object in the center of a room with pulsing red lights blinking at 3 locations on the object's base.
Mm-hmm.
The cylindrical object in the center of the room looks like the one that Fob and you just saw looking in that other room through the glass door.
Okay. So it's showing 3 specific points of light at the base of that cylinder.
That's right. And then the recording goes dark.
Okay. I turn to everyone else and say, a bit of a puzzle. And say, well, we could go muck about with that, or I wonder how we get these doors open. Unless anyone's trying something else, Jaraxxus is going to go up to this door and, well, yeah, going to go up to this door and see if he can even identify how it would open, I guess.
Okay, how do you want to do that?
Is it just sheer glass? There's no knob handle?
Correct.
Okay. I'll touch it gently.
When you do, it slides smoothly and silently into the wall. And the minute it does so, you hear from somewhere over here the sound of dripping, trickling water. And it was almost like a vacuum sealed corridor sound, right? The minute it opens, sound floods in from the hallway.
So everybody can hear that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you don't do anything, door closes again. And the sound is extinguished.
Balls is going to come over here a little bit, because that was weird.
Jaraxxus says, it's nothing to be afraid of. It is, well, it's a door, but all I'll say is that the Twilight Elves are not going to be very happy. Their culture, at least. Well, we have 2 options. We can muck about with that weird cylinder thing, or go towards the strange dripping sound. Not a sentence I expected to say today, but here we are.
Is there a way to keep that door open and case there's something we don't want to mess with on the other side.
I go over to Gamork. I take off the greatsword. The door stop. And I'll open the door, and I don't know what orientation would be proper, but I guess I'll just lay the greatsword flat on the ground so that the door, hopefully the glass doesn't shatter as it tries
No,
to
what
close.
it does is it goes and then makes kind of a little bit of clack as it hits the metal, and then opens again. And then after a few seconds, clack, clack.
I take one of the cloaks that I have, and I cushion the sides of the blade so it doesn't make noise.
Okay, so it's very quietly. So it's a little bit of a weird effect because you get like dripping water sound and then very little and then a lot of dripping and then a little as it closes and opens.
I look to the others and say, well, what do we think? Which path?
I like the dripping water. I don't
You
know
mean-
why, but
All
I
right.
think that's where we should go.
You're muted,
You're muted,
Johnny.
Johnny.
How about that? Is that
There you
better?
go. Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Before we exit the room, Titus is going to take the circuit board and try a different slot.
Okay, same effect. When you put it into the different circuit board, again, the same recording plays on the mirror. Which it occurs to you now, Titus, is probably a display panel, really.
No timestamp or anything else listed on it.
No timestamp.
Titus will follow Drax.
Okay. So you're following to the east and then north, or
I think so. Yeah, I think we let our trusty scout lead the way.
all right. Inside here there is another glass door, which is behaving rather oddly. Every time the glass door down below opens, this one starts to close. But because of the way you have the other one set, it's not closing all the way. So it's like this one is going the opposite direction. So it closes, opens, closes, opens. But regardless, Fob, you can see inside there. Again, please ignore the number. You can
Number
see
one.
inside there a decent-sized chamber, again, decent-sized one, with decorative arches that run along the chamber's vaulted ceiling. And there are again glowing runes and markings lining various sections of the walls that cast an eerie glow about the area. Also, there are remnants of stone furnishings scattered about the floor, and the sound of slow dripping water, which is echoing from the northern wall. And so you can see the pool of water up here, apparently, from which the dripping sound. And again, it's louder and quieter depending on how close you are to the, whether the door is open or closed.
I look through the recording of Fob and say, where is everyone? And what is this place for? I say we go into the room.
Okay. We'll go into the room.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will go into the room.
All right. Go ahead and
Stealthily go into the room.
go ahead and make a stealth check, please.
Yeah, sure. We'll let Fob stealthily go first.
16.
For Fob, that's not even, but still quite impressive. So you quietly maneuver into the center of the room, Fob, and you see what I have previously described. The broken down furniture, I mentioned the pillars, the runes on the walls, and then this pool of water up here.
I'm going to go look at the pool of water.
So go ahead and move your character. When you get close to the water, and you look into it, something seems a bit odd about it to you, Fob.
Oh, magic water, stepping back.
As you step back, it begins to twist and swirl, and suddenly you realize the pool of water is itself a constituent creature which has
so I'm
formed
yelling,
together.
magic water monster, so everyone is aware of what's going on.
What Jaraxxus hears as water monster, magic water monster, as the doors keep opening and closing. Fob, you are staring at what you know, even in your world, is a water elemental. And we will find out what happens next time as that face down occurs. My goodness, we have some mysteries to solve, people. First of all, we got an elemental to deal with, but then after that, we have all the stuff going on elsewhere in the room. Who knows what will happen next? But I'm really enjoying, by the way, at this point, seeing some of the reveals, a little bit of the reveals of some of the technology, which is because this is very much expedition to the Barrier Peaks. To the Barrier Peaks, which is this is what this module, this adventure that we're playing, this campaign is kind of the spiritual successor to that, where you go into this place that's very technological, but everything was described as, so like you were relentlessly told you can't describe this world technologically because the people going to it wouldn't have any reference point to that. So describing a display panel as like a mirror or whatever, for Jaraxxus and for Titus, that becomes more distinctive. But for Fob and Nulls, this is where you begin to see a real divide between what each group is likely to know based upon the technology where you've been. So science abounds. We will see what happens for science. I will start I'll shift back over here. I will start on the bottom right with Dr. Jaraxxus. So, Zach, interesting stuff with Jaraxxus today. That visor was very helpful. I was really surprised, too, as we were going through, and you're like, oh, I've looked through my equipment, and I had this stuff. I'm like, you looking at my notes? Because, that's going to become important, because you're going into an area where technology was going to be a bigger deal. And so it turned out to be effective. And now Jaraxxus is in a world that is both of his element and not his element, actually, because of the combination, the weird mashup of stuff that you see, which is clearly technological, but you're not sure what. So I'm very much curious to see how Jaraxxus is going to interpret that once, that is, you deal with this water elemental that is facing down Fob. How did you feel about today's session? Where will the fine folks find you next?
Very cool. Not expecting the sudden increase in technology, and it's making me question, too, this very fantasy elven culture, and then this Ostrika being corrupted by demons from the umbral realm. If this is the gateway, this is the temple that leads to the aforementioned umbral realm, then is it even really a fantasy? I mean, what if at the center of this it's not a demon or a shadow, but something technological? That's my scary theory. So it's very interesting to start to see some tech stuff here, and excited as always anytime we get to start a session with combat, so that'll be cool next time. And people will find me here next time for the next session of Expedition, of course, on our channel Gen GMs on YouTube, with our shorts and our YouTube videos, and also back here for our vocalists once a month, where we're finishing out the Banner Saga, so that's great. And on my own channel every Thursday or so, where I'm playing through Divinity Original Sin 2 with some friends for the first time. And at the moment, that's about it. So yeah, a lot of fun. Looking forward to next time.
Good time. Thank you.
Wait. Well, no, we should also mention something upcoming that I imagine I'll let the proper introduction of it fall to Johnny.
No, you should go for it.
I'm very, very, very excited for the Dune show that is coming out this summer. And that may or may not involve myself and Johnny. And let's just say I love the idea of playing in anything other than D&D, even though D&D's such a big part of my job. And I'm really excited after reading the books for the Dune tabletop role-playing game. It's going to be so good. And the cast, man.
It's going to be great. I'm super pumped for the premiere of Dune myself. It's going to be awesome. Yes, coming very soon. This summer, as you said. This summer to a theater. It's going to be awesome. Thank you, Zach. Always a pleasure. Kat, really enjoyed as well getting a chance to see. We had, obviously, Fob's roguish tendencies. I love the ideas you all came up with the poison coins. With planting the poison coins, Fob got a lot of chance to use stealth in various ways today, which was fun to see. Also, Fob's passive perception coming into great effect. And again, being able to play off what Fob and Nulls would know and not know about this world compared to what Titus and Jaraxxus know and do not know when you started with them coming to a world that you were familiar with and now are becoming part of a world that you're less familiar with in a way. I'm just interested to see how all of that is going to balance together. And also I was amused about the idea of having all of the coins and being like, God damn it, which coin is actually which coin? That was funny too. How did you feel about today's session? Where will the fine folks find you next?
I have plans for those coins.
I imagine, yeah.
I felt today was fun. It's always fun to play. Today just felt like another really great session. Where will people see me? I'm at the Cascade Writers Conference in Bremerton, Washington next weekend, and then I will be at Gen Con, which I know many of us will be at. So I'm super stoked for that.
That's going to be awesome. Thank you, Kat. Always a pleasure. And yes, you, myself, and Toya will all be there. And speaking of Toya, Toya, good stuff today as well. Nulls, obviously, who has a sense of sort of the dreamlike capabilities of this place or the sort of characteristics of this place, but not necessarily what's at the root of it, means that Nulls is accessing this through kind of Nulls' own understanding of things, but at the same time, it's also technologically stuff that obviously Nalik would not come to themselves, right? So I'm very curious to see how Nulls addresses that and deals with that going forward, especially as we continue to blur the lines between tech and not tech as we go forward here. Then beyond that, obviously the idea about the hilt of the sword, figuring out the energy sword, I forgot to mention that as another thing that's sort of suggesting coming from the space in between realms, maybe even. That's interesting too. So how, put all that together, did you feel about today's session, thinking about some of those things, and where will the fine folks find you next?
Well, first of all, Zach was the GOAT, at least for this session, because Zach remembered the hologram device thing. And then Zach also brought up the poison coins, which was the perfect play, turns out. What's interesting to me is that just because of the way my brain works, I'm always theorizing what's happening. And I have theories about where we are right now, but Nulls wouldn't know what I'd be talking about. So I'm kind of gauging what I know of technology and science fiction. It's like having to describe, oh, let's go to the video frame by frame.
Yeah.
You know, now, Nulls knows enough about videos that she could say, oh, there's a picture. And then when they're like these made up of pictures and they look kind of weird when it's just one picture, but you can put them all together. But now where I've got theories about things she would not know about, and how am I going to translate that into the language of what she has experienced? And so that'll be really interesting. So I'm looking forward to that. And also just the looting. Like we've done looting before, and we've gotten items. Before. Yes, we have looted before, and we've gotten items. They've been somewhat useful, but now the looting really seems to be coming into play, which is also really fun. And I imagine there's going to be more stuff we can do with like the crystals and the great sword and the cloaks and stuff like that. And just like the kind of mundane ways that we're using these things, like Zach was saying, hey, maybe we could dress up like the acolytes, but no, put it around the great sword so it's not making so much noise.
I don't have to keep saying vroom clack, vroom clack, vroom clack.
Yeah. So I'm very interested to see where this goes and where the other machines are that were depicted in the visual display. And yes, I will also be at Gen Con. Again, I have workshops that you can come to. One about creating kind of a breadcrumb language that's easy to pick up on and that will help your audience, no matter whether you're doing prose fiction or comics or games, will help your readers pick up on. And I just mentioned theory crafting, and because they care about the characters and because they care about the world, they're actually looking for the next breadcrumb to keep them engaged and keep them going. So I've got that. And I also have one on characters, like a deep dive of characters and maybe some stuff that you knew but maybe hadn't really thought about before. So
that's good stuff. And I should mention, I also have a couple workshops, and I want to highlight as well D&D with writers, symposium writers, because Toya is going to be in that too. And so that's going to be a good time. That's also going to finish up the second trilogy of adventures related to my Forbidden Library world. So the first one of those came out. I ran the last two at the last two symposiums. Last time I finished a set of 3. Those ended up being published as part of a now bronze or a copper or silver, that's what it is, silver seller on Drive-Thru RPG. So last time that went pretty well. I have heard rumors that they might want to do a second one of these, and that was the whole point of doing these extra adventures. So you're going to see that live in front of a studio audience, so to speak, at Gen Con. So if you haven't already done so and you're going to be at Gen Con, please get tickets for that and come watch us play with Toya and the rest of the awesome crew that will be playing that adventure. Thank you, Toya. Good stuff tonight, as always. Last but certainly not least, Johnny, it was good to have you back as well. Good to have you in a environment where it was really nice to see like this sort of cool, laid back environment that you're in today with the good lighting behind you and all that. It was good stuff. And I was very interested in that little moment that we had of people noticing that there was something going on with Titus, and Titus saying, like, that's for a later discussion. Clearly that's been filed away and will be part of a later discussion, which I'm very much looking forward to seeing how that plays out. But also, this is again Titus having the chance, like Jaraxxus, to begin to see technological things, which Nulls and Fob wouldn't be as familiar with, and what the impact is going to be of that in terms of what this world is. It was always a mashup, but the more you get close to the heart of this, the more you're seeing it on one side of things. So I loved in my own mind the visual of you going like, oh my God, that's Dendusi and Keshi. Like, what is that doing here? Right. And so very much gods must be crazy kind of feel. And I'm very curious to see how that plays out. How did you feel about, also good work with the assault drone, I should mention, along with Zach's coins play. The assault drone made it possible for you all to do that, so good work there too. How'd you feel about today's session? Where will the fine folks find you next?
Today's session was awesome. I agree that I think that both Kat and Zach share like the GOAT title today. Each of you had done amazing things. I love insights that Nulls has. Toya, I really find it interesting the way that Nulls is approaching having the conversation about things that she doesn't understand as a character in the world. So that's it's illuminating to kind of like watch that experience. So it was great being just a fan of the show and just kind of watching the other players really kind of like stretch their legs and kind of like get a chance to really explore. Otherwise, this will be the end of the broadcast from Manhattan. I'm going back to Virginia tomorrow. So folks will find me here next whenever we do Esper Genesis, or sorry, not Esper Genesis, Mysterious Peaks. And yeah, I will, Zach was being coy about it. I will officially announce July 24th is when you all will see us live doing a little bit of Dune. We had a nice meeting on Wednesday. It was pretty fantastic. I couldn't answer all of the questions, and I loved the fact that I couldn't answer all of the questions. So it's going to be pretty intriguing.
It's going to be amazing. And again, that cast, remember, that cast is going to be, Johnny, you're going to be your GM, and that cast will feature Zach Clay and Valerie Valdez, and will feature Brandon O'Brien, and will feature Darcy Little Badger. And I think that's just that's a dynamite cast anyway, and I can't wait to see them working with each other. That's the first time that Zach and Brandon, for example, will have worked each other in that, and having the Dune Imperium launch on that day is going to be absolutely awesome. And again, it means that for those watching the channel, so a lot of Wednesdays you're going to get community D&D, and you're going to get, so that's Dragon, Waterdeep Dragon Heist. A lot of people love that campaign, as do I. And then you're also going to get Dune Imperium, which is going to be perfectly situated political intrigue, fighting back against an empire, stuff which has zero implications to what's going on right now in the world, I imagine. It's going to be really great, so I'm excited for that. So yes, that's going to be great, and cannot wait to watch that premiere. It's going to be good times. But I'm going to let these folks go. Excellent work today. Cast, I know that we talked about this off stream, and it may not be possible, but August, I'm going to be away for a lot of the month, not just at Gen Con, but then in England. So I'm hoping, we'll have to see. It would be great if we could get one more time in July, but if we can't, then we might not be able to reconvene until very late August, which, if that's what has to happen, that's what has to happen. But either way, I cannot wait to get back together and see how this continues to unfold. Thank you so much. In chat, can we get some love for the amazing crew of Johnny Pippin, Toy Kristen Finley, Cat Rambo, and Zach Clay. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks for being here. Good night.
Bye. Bye for now. All righty. Good stuff. So that is going to be a good time. And yes, I knew that we were closing in on that moment, but it is very cool to see that actually playing out this way now as I zip down to there. And I'm going to be, as I said, finishing up with the schedule. I'm going to be finishing up the schedule tonight/tomorrow, so that Wednesday, July 24th is going to be the time. It's going to be great. And you will not want to miss it, folks, because the Dune premiere is especially if you like this campaign, because the Dune premiere, obviously, the Dune Imperium is science fiction, but it's got a lot centered around this sort of kind of political intrigue and just a lot of stuff. I think it's got some Andor vibes in it as well, separate from just Dune. So I think it's going to be the kind of thing which I'm really honored to be able to add to my channel. And again, I love that cast. And I'm hoping that it'll be something which will add to the interest level and continue to bring even more people in so we can cross-pollinate a bit and people can be like, wow, it's a great science fiction campaign. Are there any other science fiction related campaigns? And I'm like, I'm so glad that you asked. And we can go from there. It'll be a very good time, as will the rest of this month. Now, I do need to mention, as I said, that the schedule is not yet wrapped up for the rest of the month. Like I said multiple times now, I will have that done tomorrow. I'm going to do a little bit of it tonight, and I'll have the rest of it finished by tomorrow, which means that by the end of the weekend, I'll have the schedule set. And then we should be ready to go. I'll also have the inspirations reset as well. So I should have most of that stuff out of the way and done by the end of the day tomorrow, so that going forward, we will have plenty of opportunity to be able to see what the schedule for July looks like. A lot of big things happening in July. Not only do we have our regular tabletop stuff, including more Sessions of Eberron and including Beowulf and including the Fighting Fantasy illustration stream and including all that good stuff, but including Ghosts of Saltmarsh over on GOGCom's Twitch channel, of course. But we will also have the premiere event of, as I say, on Wednesday the 24th, Dune Imperium. Then we will also have on Sunday the 28th the special pre-release event, which I will be streaming. But if you're in the Southern Connecticut area, that's going to be the only way that you can get the books earlier. And the Shadow Crew. That's right. Well, we had them this previous Wednesday, so I was thinking about them already. But yes, that's right. Also with them as well. So they're going to be back with us on the 17th and then the 31st, which allows Dune Imperium to go on the 24th. And then in addition to all that, we will have the release event at Blackrock Books in Bridgeport, Connecticut of Heretic, the book which has been referred to as a book that in its action beats sings, and part of the Grey Assassin trilogy, which is a philosophical romance, as is listed by the great Paul Weimer, multiple Hugo nominee from Skiffy and Fanty. So it's a great honor to be given that kind of verbiage referring to my work. And if you want to know more about it, you can get the physical copies of those books at that event Sunday the 28th at 5:30 p.m. is when that event is going to take place. And then the book will officially release for everybody else on Tuesday the 30th when you will be able to get it. And we're hoping to make a big push for that and really push into the series going forward because I'm very proud of that trilogy. I'm proud that it is a trilogy, that I have a trilogy finished in the Grey Assassin trilogy. It's very exciting to be able to do that. So that is going to be coming due. And then at the very end of the month, of course, we leading into August, we have Gen Con, which will be running through the first week of August. And then the trip to England, first going to Worldcon in Glasgow. Then I'm going to be down in Oxford for a bit. And then I will be in London at the premiere of By the Dice Roll's first live in-person event, playing my Night at the Forbidden Library at the Omnibus Theatre in Clapham. Again, you can get tickets for that if you haven't already. £7.50, and that's going to be happening on August the 17th, Saturday, August 17th. Super excited for that. It's going to be a great time. So busy August to come. But first, we got a busy July to get through. So that is going to be the first step. If you like what you saw and heard today, please follow the channel. Please check out our YouTube with !ArvTube. Oh man, I'm sorry to hear about that, Prince Justin, but I'm glad that it's not, at least I'm glad that trip is not getting canceled, because that, I know that's going to be really important, and I'm looking forward to seeing you there. So !ArvTube is my YouTube channel. Thank you for those of you who are watching me over there today. I know we had a few people who stopped by, and please do follow me over on the channel. Wait, please hold. Please hold what? Hold where? With what? With who? You hear... Oh, you heard there was scheduling stuff going on. Yeah, so right now, Shadowed, I want to double check on something. So I had, again, I have to do the schedule for this. So, and don't panic about anything. We'll work this out. But, whoops. I believe... Right, so I had you, because you went on the 3rd, I had you going on the 17th as well. For Shadow Crew. The reason is that the Dune Imperium premiere is going to be on Wednesday the 24th. And I didn't think that conflicted with anything, but it was trying to figure out details of new cast members that haven't worked together with each other. Is that not true? Is that going to conflict with something? Shoot. We had the 10th and 24th. Well, the 10th is fine, but I think we're going to need to talk about moving the 24th, Shadowed, because it's been hard to get that crew going. Eventually, what I wanted to have done was I want to have it alternating, where we have, Shadow Crew, and Triffid will be able to coordinate this as well. But Shadow Crew and then Dune Imperium, then Shadow Crew and Dune Imperium. The reason Triffid didn't do it yet is because there were details that I can't get into about stuff with getting the players scheduled for Dune Imperium. Once that's set, then we're in a position where it'll be easier to sort of coordinate going forward. But because it's been really hard to get that going, I'm going to have to ask that the Shadow Crew is not going to be able to do the 24th, I'm afraid, because we finally got Dune Imperium scheduled. 10th is fine. And like I say, afterwards, we can work it out where everybody is basically balancing off against each other on that Wednesday. So 10th is definite. Yes, no problem there. But the 17th, we might have to skip. Yeah. I'm sorry, Shadow. There's not much I can do about that, because otherwise we're never going to get that thing scheduled. We do need to get the premiere rolling. So yeah, alternating weeks is the hope. So sorry, I only just found out the details of that this evening, because they finally got everything squared away. It's not their fault. It's just stuff that they had to coordinate. So yeah, sorry. But 10th is definite. So don't change that. And then it's just figuring out. And again, that's why I'm going to make sure that I get the group together so that I can have the schedule going forward. And in fact, I'm going to, for Dune, check with Johnny, so scheduling can happen. Okay, great. Cool. Yes. So All right. I will make sure to check in also with Johnny so we can make sure that going forward that's not an issue. But so I mentioned the YouTube !ArvTube, Discord !ArvCord. By the way, chat, one last thought on that. That means that every Wednesday night, basically, once we get this coordinated, which probably will be in August, we'll be able to coordinate it. Pretty much every Wednesday night going forward for at least a few months, you're going to have great content, whether it's Waterdeep Dragon Heist with the amazing Shadow Crew, or whether it's Dune Imperium, you're going to have great sessions to look at. It's going to be really good. Okay, so YouTube !ArvTube, Discord !ArvCord, Twitter !ArvTweets, Blue Sky !ArvSky, website arvaneleron.com, financially !ArvTreon, that's the Patreon, !ArvShop is the merchandise area. Both of those really helpful and really important. If you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel as well. I know that Hillness did that tonight, and thank you so much, Hillness, for that. 85 months of support, meaning if I've got my math right, 7 years and a month. That is amazing. Thank you so much, Hillness, for that. I appreciate it very much. And I will, of course, be seeing Hillness again in person in Indianapolis. I've seen Hillness in New York. I'm going to be seeing him again in Indianapolis. So, but anyway, yes. So that is going to be awesome. So subscribing to the channel really helps. Icarus, that is my graphic novel from Athos Arts. Library. Again, we talked a lot about Alligator Alley, which sponsors this campaign tonight. Alligator Alley, which will also be producing has also done the Forbidden Library, Tales and Tomes, the Forbidden Library. Yeah, I know, unfortunately, but you can't travel everywhere just to catch my stuff, Illness. But I appreciate it, and that's still cool. We will still see plenty of each other over the next next month or so that'll be great. Yes, Icarus. Library, Tales and Tomes, the Forbidden Library. My 5e Adventure and Sourcebook from Alligator Alley Entertainment. That's a silver seller right now on Drive-Thru-RPG, and they are running out of those print copies rapidly. So if you want a print copy, you don't have a lot more time to get one before they vanish completely, unless they do a second printing, or perhaps there is a sequel in the offing. We will see. We'll talk more about that. That again is Library. And Greyshade, that is my Greyshade RPG. My Greyshade IP, which involves my Greyshade RPG. It is my Greyshade IP. Greyshade and Renegade, the first two books in that series, are already out from Athos Arts. You can get those at that link. You can also get the Greyshade audiobook at that link, done by our very own Trent Sparks. You can also pre-order our Greyshade. You can pre-order the Greyshade RPG being done by Brandon O'Brien and being produced by the Alligator Alley Entertainment people. That'll be out at the end of the year. And you can also pre-order the final book in the Grey Assassin trilogy, Heretic, which, as I've mentioned, will have a special release event on Sunday, pre-release event on Sunday, July 28th at BlackRock Books, and then will be available to everybody on Tuesday, July 30th. So if you pre-order right now, you will have that book in just a few weeks in your hot little hands, digitally or in print, whatever it is that you choose to do. And I would love it if you could do that, because it would be a big support to us. And as always, and I think you'd enjoy it too, BLM, Black Lives Matter, important to affirm and assert the significance and importance of Black lives. Help Now, the World Health Organization page on suicide prevention. Important to reach out to others when you need help and reach out to others when they need help as well. And Ukraine, UKRAINE, to help the people of Ukraine as they fight back against an illegal and illegitimate war with bravery and courage, and send the message we will do so for others in the future as well. All right, we are going to do a raid tonight because we're not stopping too late. The Arvanauts have landed. Twitch raid, lowercase Twitch, uppercase R, lowercase AID. And then, of course, if you're a sub, do this. Arvany Hype, the Arvanauts have landed. Then you've got Arvany Roar, Arvany Witch, Arvany Smug, Arvany Love, Arvany Blown, Arvany Everything, Arvany All the Things, Arvany Crit Hit, when you are brought over automagically to the person that we are going to be raiding, who is a person with whom you are quite familiar if you spend any time in this chat. Otherwise, I will see you folks back here on Tuesday. Again, not sure what I'm playing yet. I will have that schedule figured out by tomorrow, but it'll be something awesome. And then we've got more. We've got Eberron, Oracle of War. We've got Ghosts of Saltmarsh. We've got Community D&D, the premiere of Dune Imperium. We've got Beowulf. We've got the Fighting Fantasy Gamebook illustration streams. We've got the Arvocalist. We've got more Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. We've got some Black Guys or Couriers of Darkness over on GOGCom. We got the Patreon Field Chat Shows, the Game of the Month. We got a lot of stuff is what I'm saying. And so all of that is going to be a good time. But please stick around for the raid. Thank you so much to my wonderful wonderful mods. Thank you to Emily the Invincible. Thank you to Hillness. Thank you to Prince Justin. Thank you to Shadowed Mage. Thank you to Triffity Mats, the best in the business. Thank you as well to my wonderful Patreon supporters and subscribers. Thank you to Emily, Hillness, Prince Justin, Shadowed, Triffid, and Tim Coolish. And thank you so much to my wonderful viewers. Thank you to Anime Wolf. Thank you to Betrader. Thank you to Dragon Spear, who is a mod but is lurking apparently. Thank you to Jagtress. Thank you to Live Suing. Thank you to Mrs. Dunsel, who is a sub but is lurking. And thank you to Zalfie. Please stick around for the raid. Thank you all for being you. Much love to all of you. Special thanks today to Alligator Alley Entertainment for sponsoring the campaign, and in particular my players. Thank you so much to Johnny Pittman, to Kat Rambo, to Toya Kristen Finley, and to Zach Clay for being an awesome crew that I'm having a great time playing this adventure with. That's it for me. See you folks on Tuesday. Stick around for the raid, and I'll see you folks in a little bit. As always, much love and be good to each other. Bye for now.